ticket in his quest for the city's top seat. Igathe says that his decision was fueled by his passion to offer service delivery leadership. He cites his experience in the business world as the foundation of spearheading the metropolis county to the next level with the focus on eradicating corruption. Speaking on his 2017 resignation, Igathe dismissed claims that he stepped down since he was unable to perform, saying that the circumstances at the time hindered him from serving the city's residents. He was speaking during an interview with KTN News. Now, the Orange Democratic Movement Party Appeals Tribunal is set to release the verdict on 9 appeals today in Kisumu. The Appeals Tribunal chairperson Frederick Orego stated that they had 2 panels hearing complaints arising from the party nominations recently held in Busia and Siaya counties. Orego indicated that 4 cases were arising from Busia County and already they have heard the parties. Orego pointed out that the election of Alego Songa MP Samuel Arati was also contested, and the tribunal gave all the parties a fair hearing. Now, the Jubilee Party has cleared former Youth and Gender Principal Secretary Lilian Omolo to contest for the Embu senatorial seat in the August elections. Omolo, who is facing corruption charges emanating from the National Youth Service Scandal, was handed the Jubilee Party direct ticket following consensus. The party's Director of Election, Kanini Kega, handed Omolo the ticket in an event that was witnessed by the party's Secretary General Jeremiah Kioni and the party's National Elections Board Chairperson Stephen Wandeto. Omolo stepped down from her role as the Principal Secretary in Youth and Gender Docket after being implicated in the multi-million shilling scandal. Now, Nandi Hills Member of Parliament Alfred Keter has won the United Democratic Alliance Party ticket to defend his seat in the August polls. Keter managed to secure victory in the Deputy President William Ruto-led party after flooring his competitors to clear him for the race. In the contest that had been postponed following the death of an aspirant in a road accident, the lawmaker garnered 10,273 votes ahead of Kituru Bernard Kibor, who got 7,468 votes. Now, Interior Cabinet Secretary Dr. Fred Matiang'i has raised concern over the alleged mushrooming of persons facing economic crime charges in the long list of aspirants eyeing elective seats in Parliament and county assemblies. CS Matiang'i met the sentiments following alleged intelligence reports that estimated that close to 40% of the suspected criminals and their accomplices would successfully be part of the next government once the August polls are set and done. He warned that the country will likely take a step back in its ongoing war against corruption, noting that the said persons will likely back laws that favor the thriving of criminal entities. And the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission has been allowed to preserve 257 million shillings in a bank account operated by a cleaner at the Kenya prison's headquarters. EACC has also obtained orders to preserve cars worth 32 million shillings and a house valued at 17.5 million shillings, all owned by the cleaner identified by Eric Kipkurui. Justice Esther Mind of the EACC's Anti-Corruption Division of the High Court gave the preservation orders. The judge issued the orders after the EACC filed an application seeking to have the suspected properties preserved on grounds that they must have been acquired illegally as proceeds of corruption. And police are on the hunt for 3 suspected gangsters who allegedly robbed and killed a university student in Juja, Kiambu County. The suspects are said to have accosted 23-year-old Joel Juma, a 4th-year industrial chemistry student at the Jomo Kenyatta University of Agriculture and Technology, at around 2 a.m. as he and his girlfriend were allegedly going to borrow exam revision materials from a colleague who lived near his residence. The gang of 3 would, however, descend on the pair, with 2 of them physically assaulting the deceased before stabbing him twice on the chest and stealing his phone and other valuables. The remaining goon would focus his attention on the lady, a law student at Mount Kenya University. He would, however, leave her unscathed after discovering that she was not carrying anything valuable at the time. According to the DCI, the commotion drew the attention of local security guards in the area, who arrived at the scene and rushed Juma and the visibly shaken lady to a nearby hospital. Juma was, however, pronounced dead on arrival, and the World Health Organization says escalating fighting in Ukraine is preventing emergency medical supplies and health personnel from reaching many people in need of help. This is Newswire. I'm Dennis Sasseto. Good morning.
The following takes place from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. every weekday on Spice FM.
I like listening to you guys. You're the default radio station in my car in the morning. Even the children listen to you guys.
I agree Parliament has failed this country. And I will say it again. We have not done what we should have done.
We know in this country, the Kenya prison sector is one of the most underfunded sector.
The way it is being done and the way we're calling it Huduma Number Them Semakweli is because all records will be there. You know, there are people who are now billionaires with no history as to how they got all these assets.
Yes. Anything that the president does that is not in accord with the constitution is an illegal act. You know, he shouldn't be doing it, and he shouldn't be sitting here and trying to sort of guise it up.
I totally believe live transmission of results and allowing Kenyans to be able to view all these results. I believe that it will be impossible to steal elections.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
Hey, it's getting hot in here. The media has greatly contributed to the moral rot that we experience in this country.
I remember a senior politician telling me, point blank, nobody steals in the field, it's stolen in the granary. So my friend, if you're going to win an election, jipange kwa granary.
I think we are suffering from Stockholm syndrome. Our violator and abuser is also our...
Okay, so what's happening on the roads this morning? Nothing much. Uhuru Highway coming into town is not looking bad. Mombasa Road is still very clear right now. The only issue is slightly as you get to the SGR line. This is the Syokimau railway station, but then the rest of the road is looking okay. Thika Superhighway is still looking good at this hour of the morning. Jogoo Road is also not looking bad at all at this hour of the morning, but let's see how the situation will be looking like in about half an hour or so. If there's anything for us to report, SpiceFM KE is our Twitter handle.
Spice FM, Malindi. This is the Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Okoh, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latiff, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is the Situation
It
Room.
is, and it's
The
10
only
minutes
way
after
to
6.
start-
This is Kenya's biggest conversation on the 20th day of April 2022. How are you doing? Welcome to the conversation today. So, a lot has happened around the world and around in the country, and that's why we're saying, it is good to be okay, to be alive. It's raining in some parts of Nairobi early this morning. It's raining in some parts of the country early this morning. The only hope here is that this rain continues for a couple of weeks, at least long enough for it to benefit the crops that have been planted by very many people. And we hope that, in fact, in the breadbasket of the country, the rains have come in and they're coming in good in good amounts and coming in good time, and that they'll last, and that we'll have sufficient rainfall by the end of this season. Eric Latiff and CT Muga. Okoh is back in the country, but she has jet lag. So she'll come in tomorrow. CT. Hujambo.
Salam, how far do I need to travel in order to get jet lag?
You just need to cross as long as you're outside the country.
Oh, so even if I just leave this place and go to Mombasa, I should get jet lag?
Outside the country, boy.
Okay, Likoni Ferry.
Outside the country. Okay. Go to Arusha.
Jet lag.
If you just get out of the country, go somewhere, like we were saying, cross over into Uganda, jet lag. Drive, fly,
jet lag.
Use a ship,
jet lag. Okay.
You know, you've been abroad.
I've been abroad.
Mm-hmm. And even if you're going to Kampala, you're going overseas.
You know, you're talking about the rains. Huh? What if I'm to look at what's happening around the world? The warnings are not for rains, but for flooding. One prays that we don't have excessive rain.
Yeah.
Because then it will have the same negative effect as drought.
Yep.
It'll be just as destructive, and the very thing that we were hoping the rain would achieve is the very thing we will not achieve. Yes.
That's true. One just hopes that we actually get proper and sufficient rainfall.
We pray and hope, yes.
Over this period, because that's what's important. We really, really, really need the rains. Were late, and we hope that now that they've come, they will stay for a bit. So keep it here for conversations. Yesterday in the afternoon, after rumors swirling left, right, and center, Igathe came out and said, yeah. Throwing my hat in the ring, I'd also like to be considered for nomination by Jubilee to be the gubernatorial candidate and nominee for Nairobi City County. That means the former deputy governor now wants to be governor of Nairobi, Igathe. So he had this big group role at Equity Bank. Now he says he has stepped aside from that one. He wants to come and serve the people. You ask yourself, why Polycarp? And then you ask yourself, this man, and you can just walk out of a job, go seek another one. If it doesn't work, go back, get a job.
You see, you've asked a question, so let me ask another question. You said, why Igathe? Why not Igathe?
Why not?
Precisely, because the thing is, for you to be successful in politics, you must have backers.
Yes.
Whether it is a large number of electorates, people from your back, whatever it is, you have backers.
Yes.
Igathe clearly has backers. There are people who believe in him, there are people who believe that there's something he can do for this city.
And they want to see him trying to do it.
Yes. I mean, you can't say he can't do it until he's given the opportunity to do it.
Hey, he'll be here at 8 a.m. today. He'll be with us. He'll be occupying the hot seat. And what we're going to be asking him, is he the chosen one or strategic disruptor? Just 2 or so days before parties conclude their primaries, man joins the race. People have been in this race for many months. He times it, comes in at this point. Is that strategy? Is that disruptive strategy? Or is he the chosen one?
Or is it
negotiated?
Yes.
Was he spoken to and told, come on, do it? We'll be asking him those questions, plus asking him, so why does he feel that he is the best placed person to run the city county of Nairobi? 8 a.m., keep it here for that conversation. At 9, we'll have a conversation about a show on KTN Home, The Headhunter. And the anchor for this show, and also who also anchors the show on KTN News called Transform Kenya, is Laban Cliff Onserio. Laban Cliff is also Chief of Staff in the office of our group CEO. He'll be with us here at 9 o'clock to talk about this particular show, The Headhunter, what's it all about, who else is in it, what should we be looking out for. So keep it here for those conversations. Let me quickly tell you what's happening on the front of COVID-19. So the Ministry of Health says that yesterday there were 12 new cases reported of COVID-19 reported in the country, out of a sample size of about 2,233. That brings our positivity rate to 0.5%. No recorded death yesterday. 40 recoveries yesterday. Still looking good. In terms of vaccinations, we know that 17 million vaccines have been administered across the country so far. 16 million of those doses administered to the adult population, that is 18 years and above, and 1.2 million doses administered to those between 15 and 17 years. 291,488 are booster doses. So in terms of vaccination in the country, we are seeing that is quite some movement that's still going on. Have you been vaccinated? Do you know where the vaccines are? Well, problem is I don't see where those vaccines are, and I'm not seeing those conversations happening anymore. People asking, so where do I get the vaccine? Where do I go from here? Those conversations are still not happening, and it's good to maintain those conversations so that people can know, this is where I can get the vaccine, this is where I can go for a booster shot, this is how I get my COVID certificate, and this is how I handle it. Okay? Live streaming the show on SpiceFM KE, YouTube and Facebook. And if you're online, say hello to us. We'll be doing our usual roll call shortly after we take a look at the weather forecast at 17 minutes after 6. Good morning.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation. Brought to you by Colgate.
Classic soul, R&B, smooth jazz, neo soul, and nostalgic ballads.
Make some noise. Yeah.
You're listening to Spice FM.
The group of leaders we are having now, these are just like the polymers. The chemical composition is the same.
Are you corruptible?
Hopefully not.
And maybe that's part of the problem.
People who have done about 300 speeches and they are not saying anything. What makes you think that they will come in with something really dramatic?
Don't miss out on the latest from Kenya's biggest conversation. SMS TSR to 22840.
Okay, so it's been raining overnight. Did it rain in your neck of the woods, City?
It did. Even when I came to work, it was raining.
It was raining.
That's why I was donning on this rain jacket. It was raining.
So it's been raining overnight in some parts of Nairobi, hoping it's been raining everywhere. Expect the continuation of the same and a cloudy day today in Nairobi, 24 degrees and lows of 16. Rain as well in Mombasa, highs of 31 and lows of 25. Rain in Malindi, highs of 31 and lows of 26. Some clear skies in Nakuru today, highs of 24 and lows of 14. Kisumu, cloudy day at 27 and lows of 19. Western Kenya, so Kakamega, cloudy day as well, 25 highs and lows of 13. And Eldoret, clear skies at 25 and lows of 15. Kampala, rain, 25 and lows of 19. Dar es Salaam, clear skies, highs of 31 and lows of 24. Kinshasa, DRC, cloudy day at 30, lows of 23. Johannesburg, clear skies at 19 and lows of 8. Lagos, Nigeria, mostly clear at 32 and lows of 25. Beijing, China, it's a sunny afternoon, highs of 29 and lows of 17. London, clear skies at 17 and lows of 8. New York, clear at 12 and lows of 6. While Paris is going to be clear with highs of 18 and lows of 7.
Classic soul, R&B, smooth jazz, neo soul, and nostalgic ballads.
Make some noise. Yeah.
You're listening to Spice FM. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right.
Okay, it is 20 minutes after 6, and guess who? Everybody seems to be up and early this morning. Good morning, Sky Karish says, Team Eric CT, Muga, regards to Ndu. Hello, I'm sure she's listening in as she rests. Lillian Ondege, good morning, CT and Eric, listening in from Ahero. Clyde Shihemi in Kakamega, locked. Michael Getao, good morning this morning. A chilly one, looking forward to great discussion. Yes. Angela Nyangs, good morning, Spice, tuned in from Katani, and it's still raining there. Good. John Rurie, good morning from Mombasa. Bantu Madlomo, tuned in, good morning, and good morning to you. Thank you very much for tuning in. Willie Bazoo is tuned in from Kitale. Christopher Kunziato, good morning, tuned in from the east side of Nairobi, Babu Owino's constituency. Which one is that city? Babu Owino's constituency?
It's in Embakasi East.
East. Embakasi East. Christopher, is that true? Yes, it is. Sam Miai, good city. Muga, good morning. Proverb of the day, when you run, don't move.
Right.
George Kiplagat at Himaki, Nandi, Ndani pamoja. Brian Omunupi kutoka Namahere, tuko present. Where is Namahere?
That one. See, somewhere in Western, I'm certain.
Somewhere in Western. Jose Jays says, tuned in from Nakuru. Robert Kipkemboi is locked in Nandi. Kahawa Sukari, well represented by MD Brownie Newton. Avance Alo, good morning. Greetings too. And also says he wants to greet his dad, John Alo Odungo from Narok. Mom, Millicent Alo from Wagwe Kobiero. And sister, Brenda Alo. Okay, good morning, everybody. Good morning, Gong Racecourse tuned. Chris Babake, Chris. Tuned in from Kangemi is Esther Thathi. That's calling herself Rastagal. Good morning, Rastagal. Everybody, welcome to Kenya's biggest conversation. City has the day's proverb.
Right, the last proverb from the country of Benin. Misfortune that comes to town does not wear a turban.
Misfortune that comes to town does not wear a turban. Meaning, you'll not identify it.
Well, it doesn't provide you with a clear identifier or a distinguishing identifier.
It doesn't come screaming that I am misfortune.
No, it doesn't alert you. If anything, it often masquerades as something far more pleasant than misfortune. Its true colors are only revealed much later. Yes.
In which country is this? Benin?
Benin, yes.
Were the Beninois being attacked by Tuaregs?
No, because if you look at the country of Benin, it's a sliver of a country onto the sea, that's the Atlantic, then Togo next to it, then to its west, then you have Nigeria. On top you have Chad. So Tuaregs, you need to go further up.
But now that you've mentioned Chad,
you know the problems that Chad has had.
Because I'm thinking there must be something that they identified turban wearing and misfortune.
You have an extremely valid point. Remember, the people who would wear turbans in many of these communities in West Africa, indeed, were businessmen. And they didn't stay in one place. Okay, so you're right. For this to be a proverb from that particular country, there must be something that happened that was associated with misfortune and was associated again with individuals.
With turban-wearing individuals. That's why I'm thinking of the Tuaregs and maybe just the Crusades and the attacks. They'd come, they'd raid. Yes. They'd come, they'd raid, and they'd go. So you would know, oh my goodness, this is the person who keeps attacking us. And they're saying, so misfortune doesn't come like the normal attacker that we can all tell.
Yes. The attackers we know,
we
but
can
misfortune
tell.
doesn't always come with this glaring identification or identifier. Yes.
Interesting proverb. Interesting one. So let's look at the newspaper headlines. Hey. Ednah, please get us the Nation, I think, is there with Diego. So, Standard, are you part of our online, active member of our online community? Please join www.standardmedia.co.ke, some premium content online. The one they're promoting this morning is Kakamega's Gory Center that has shed off a killer tag. The area has claimed many lives through accidents and criminal gangs, but this time it's looking better and better and it's getting better reputation. Which area is this? If you want to find out, www.standardmedia.co.ke. You'll be able to get all the information. In the Standard in the Nation today.
In the Standard in the Nation today, puzzle room of prisons cleaner with 257 million properties. Remember there was
prisons cleaner.
Well, yes.
Not even water.
Nope.
Okay.
Nope. This gentleman was a cleaning supervisor at the State Department of Correctional Services. And He allegedly embezzled 257 million shillings worth of food supplies that were meant for inmates. Now, what the court has done, Lady Justice Esther Maina restrained, the gentleman's name is Eric Kipkurui Mutai, and he has been ordered to surrender 7 vehicles valued at more than 32 million shillings to the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission in 7 days. And his assets have also been frozen as further investigations take place. He has a house in Nairobi, 2 parcels of land in Nyeri Church in Kisii, valued at 25 million shillings, land in Kericho valued at 17 million. His monthly salary is 20,000 Kenyan shillings. But he has 7 registered companies between 2012 and 2016.
7 registered companies?
Yes, yes. And he used them to siphon public funds in the guise of supplying foodstuff. The Commission's lawyer, Diana Kenduiwa, told the court that Mutai colluded with other senior prison officers to have his companies paid the 257 million without supplying anything. Yes. Essentially, his companies were conduits for embezzling money. Yes. So food that is actually meant to go to prisoners never went, but money was paid.
So his companies win the contract, are awarded contracts.
Yes.
They don't supply.
Yes.
But they're paid. Okay. I wonder whether this is connected to the other story that was
It is
named.
connected.
It's the same one.
So it's
of
connected.
people in the correctional service.
They're just bringing it in. Remember, it was a wholesale story of the correctional services.
Yes.
Now they're piecing it. They're saying, okay, here's one
So and
example.
so.
So and so. This is what they did with their companies. The companies were Unique Supplies, Homex Logistics Enterprises, and Hygienic Ventures. Rather unique names, wouldn't you say?
Of course. He's a cleaner. Hygienic Ventures.
And the EACC have said very simply, his salary, even if you give it the largest and widest stretch of imagination, does not tally with the multi-million shilling empire.
A house in Nairobi valued at 17.5 million shillings. Parcels of land.
In Nyeri Church. Yes.
Vehicles worth 32 million shillings.
Yes.
Ai bwana.
With 20,000.
Hey. Hey. Okay. This country, bwana.
Now, this country is an interesting country. But remember what we said about some of these habits that seem to be endemic in our country being cascaded. Anyone who has a brain and has the capacity to do something of that sort, the example has been set right at the very top of our system. So everybody else just does their part wherever they find it.
But there must be enablers. There is no way you can tell me that a junior officer who is only a cleaner in the correctional services thought up a scheme, went and registered one company, second company, third company, was able to position these companies through the organization. They were winning the tenders, and then they were supplying and not getting paid. Everything else before supplying and getting paid, you could have said, you know what, this is a guy who's very enterprising and he saw opportunities and he thought, well, why not? But then the fact that he was getting paid without supplying anything, it means that this was collusion from day one, from the point of registration of the company.
In fact, as they say, he's the patsy. The companies were registered in his name, but the people who are benefiting from it,
the real owners of this company,
they were not him.
Yeah.
It's like that lovely lady who walked past KEMSA and suddenly got a multi-billion shilling contract, that one.
Yes.
And who, upon being interviewed, demonstrated clearly she had no clue. I mean, you listen and said, no, this lady here really was not, no. She doesn't know. She doesn't know.
Surely. How do you get to that level?
Is it even more bizarre? You find companies were registered 3 months prior to being given contracts with the KEMSA.
Yeah.
Okay? Multi-billion. You're saying, surely, in public procurement, is there not a requirement for a company to have been in existence and have a track record for over a certain period of time that is at least going to some years, not 3 months, surely? These are the stories we hear of because they have come into the public domain.
Yes.
But it seems to be something that happens all along. When you do the maths about the 2 billion we supposedly lose every day, there are very many such stories, just that they haven't gotten the bright light of day has not shone on them yet.
Yeah.
But those stories exist.
They exist.
Yes, they do.
And as much as EACC keeps unearthing these ones, and taking these people who are caught basically with their hand in the cookie jar. We should look at whose hand are they?
Look, let's go even back into history and look at, say, the department, the Ministry of Youth and the sagas that followed. You look at some of the people who are culpable. You say, no.
Yeah.
No.
This one
This person, no. How did they get into the position where they were this influential? No. Somebody was behind it, and they were the people who was dumb enough to allow themselves to be put at the forefront. Yes.
They are the ones who've been caught.
Yes.
They're the fall guys.
Yes, but the people who are genuinely behind it, then they give themselves maximum distance from it, and you won't even see them.
And they got the money, and there's no trace at all.
None whatsoever. None.
Let's take a break at this point. It's 6:30, Kenya's biggest conversation. How are the roads looking like? I'll tell you shortly.
I like listening to you guys. You're the default radio station in my car in the morning. Even the children listen to you guys.
I agree Parliament has failed this country, and I will say it again. We have not done what we should have done.
We know in this country, the Kenya prison sector is one of the most underfunded sector.
The way it is being done and the way we're calling it Huduma number them Msema Kweli is because all records will be there. You know, there are people who are now billionaires with no history as to how they got all these assets.
Yes. Anything that the president does that is not in accord with the constitution is an illegal act. You know, he shouldn't be doing it and should be sitting here and trying to sort of guise it up.
I totally believe live transmission of results and allowing Kenyans to be able to view all these results. I believe that it will be impossible to steal elections.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
So we are starting off with a good morning, Kenya messages. Good morning, Kenya. Driving along the James Gishuru to Rironi Highway section without streetlights is a nightmare. The underpasses are flooded from Udhiru to Rironi. No service lanes. Guys, do you really hate us this much? That is what Njahia Kelvin is asking, Kenya. Really? Really? And you know that section of the road that's been a construction site for the last 10 years or so.
It is a nightmare.
Completely.
You don't really know where the road begins and where it ends.
And it's in the middle of the night.
And if it rains, worse. Man.
Flooded sections of the road and all. Same thing is happening to Uhuru Highway, to Mombasa Road and Uhuru Highway as well in this time. So it's raining on the road and the expressway is raining onto the road as well. There's something that they need to do. The expressway and the drainages, it's draining onto the cars below. Serious issues there. And you can imagine now pedestrians trying to cross. Anyway, no issues, big issues to report on the major roads. Only that I can see Utawala coming towards town is starting to build up, and Jogoo Road is starting to back up along Makadara. Thika Superhighway is clear only until you get to Pangani, but it's not so bad yet. Nothing else to report. But SpiceFM KE on Twitter in case of anything to report. Good morning.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself.
All right, 26 minutes to 7.
Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM.
With 257 million shillings properties, has another very sad story. Kenyan-born Bahraini athlete Damaris Mudhe has been found dead in a house in Ednah, Elgeyo Marakwet County. Her death coming 6 months after Agnes Tirop, an international athlete who was murdered in the same county. Mudhe has Kenyan and Bahrainian citizenship. Her body was found in a male Ethiopian athlete's house in Lily's estate. The house is barely a kilometre from where Ms. Tirop, who was killed in October, lived. Keyo North Deputy County Commissioner Julius Mayo says the Ethiopian athlete Eskander Hailemariam is a suspect. Mayo said Mudhe's body was found in Hailemariam's bed on Tuesday, and the suspect, now in Ethiopia, is said to have phoned a neighbour to say he had killed his girlfriend. Details of his age were not immediately known, but residents in Ednah know him only as Koki. Authorities are saying that Mudhe, who trains in Ednah, had visited the suspect on Saturday, and according to investigators, she may have been strangled. She comes from Masinga in Machakos County and is a mother of one. Imagine. Another sad case here. So you don't know exactly what happened. And the person that they ought to have trusted most is the one who's a suspect. Same thing happened to the other athlete, Agnes Tirop. Same thing is happening here to Damaris Mude. She's going to return for training. She's in Kenya for training. She visits her boyfriend allegedly, and she's found dead. The boyfriend allegedly phones a friend and a neighbor while he's in Ethiopia and says, you know what, this happened. I killed her. Still allegations, but what on earth is happening?
We have asked this question over and over again. And you see, you cannot ask this question about the mental well-being of the people who live among us and not also ask the more pertinent question of the mental well-being of those who are charged with providing us with security. Because what damage do you think you are going to do when people who are charged with the fundamentals of security in the country do not have their mental health issues addressed? The likelihood of having people who are not mentally fit to discharge their duties working on a daily basis is very high. And what do you think is going to happen?
It's crazy.
It is crazy. The pressures that come with security are immense.
This is an athlete.
I have gone there because you are asking the very same people who are going to investigate this. The ones who come and see the dead bodies.
They are dealing with this on a daily basis.
Yes, they're the ones who carry the decomposed bodies. When you hear people have been shot, they're the ones who go there. It's them who deal with all these things on a daily basis. It's them. Now, attention doesn't seem, or should I say adequate attention doesn't seem to be given to the mental well-being of these people. So, how safe are we in the hands of the people who are supposed to provide us with this security? Not because they are harmful, but it's because they are not properly looked after.
Pertinent questions.
It is. It's a discussion we've had for the longest time. And every once in a while you get snippets of information. Yes, there was a counseling, this and the other. There was this and that, the other. But you don't hear of a permanent structure that has been created that you can follow up and determine its ultimate result. There's nothing of that sort. If it exists, there's so much silence around it, it might as well not exist. And while we're talking about this, you see, of late we haven't been talking about violence and what is happening in the northern part of the country.
Yeah.
The truth of the matter is that I'll be talking about more about this on Friday. But if you look at Marsabit, Marsabit town itself has more or less become a ghost town.
The town?
Yes. People are being shot within town and killed within town.
Aye.
Business people who run businesses have run off. Some have gone to Isiolo, some have gone to Nanyuki, but they've run off. Because your life is in danger. Now, being shot means these people have guns. So you're asking the question, are you telling me that the security forces do not know the people who are perpetrating? They do.
That they constantly, people can just come in, shoot people, go away.
Yes.
Come back,
yes.
shoot people.
Go away. No.
Year in, year out.
Yes. We even have cases. Remember the cases we were being told of in Laikipia, where people even know these individuals.
Yeah.
They even know where they come from. They even know the families they belong to. And yet, anything being done about these matters is scant. You hardly hear anything. Hardly. Why? What is it?
No, it's crazy.
No, it is it's absolute madness, really. How do you explain it? And the problem is, when it's unchecked, it will move from Marsabit, it'll come down, it'll get into Meru. Places like Tigania, raiders have now killed 5 people. We've had problems in Isiolo. It moves. And it is the people who are involved in this. And in my mind, the numbers keep growing. It's not 2 or 3 people. It's a group, a large group of people. And they're armed. You're telling me that...
Is this still about pasture? When they are moving over, like for example, now they've crossed over into Tigania. This is in Meru County. What is it? What's the conflict about?
This is not a conflict. They're just raiders. These are thieves. They're just bandits.
So they come, they kill people, and then
they take off with
livestock.
either cattle or livestock or something. These are just marauders. They're just thieves who are stealing. There's pasture nonsense. What pasture?
Aye.
This isn't the story of pasture anymore. Even the stories we hear of in Laikipia, pasture again. The stories we hear in the Kerio Valley, pasture again. Baringo, pasture. No, this has nothing to do with the pasture.
It's criminal enterprise.
It is criminal enterprise. Unsupported criminal enterprise. But the thing that I have found absolutely puzzling, you can't disappear one cow easily. But here you have 50, 100 and more cows disappearing. How?
Driving away cows and...
How? No trace. How? It speaks of something.
So that tells you that the security enterprise, the security sector knows what's happening.
I'm going to say involved, not even know. Because you cannot take off with even 20 cows and people do not know where those cows went.
Yeah.
It's not possible. Cows don't fly. Okay. And as I said,
and even if they flew, I mean, we see planes.
We do.
Up in the sky.
But not cows.
Yeah.
By the time that cow is turned into beef, it's gone. So I'm saying it's an enterprise that is well oiled. From the time those cows are taken, there are those who transport it. They know where they are taking it. And in the blink of an eye, it's been transformed. The cows, as you knew them when they were taken, have ceased to exist. So even if you look for them, you won't find them.
But still, you would still find the slaughter areas.
There is a trace. You can connect.
It's very unfortunate that we end up with such situations in our country.
Yes.
And, we just keep passing it on like, a few Tiganias killed here and there, a few Boranas, a few Rendiles, a few... It doesn't really matter, I mean... it's just, 1 or 2 Samburus were killed or Pokots or Turkana.
The problem with criminal enterprise is that when it's given free rein, it grows. And by the time it becomes a real menace, and that's the time when you're going to be thinking of wanting to rein it in. It becomes extremely difficult to rein in.
It's crazy.
Do you really think that we would be hearing this story over and over again if the government genuinely took action and the people who were involved were actually brought in and you could see these fellows are not getting...
I think it would have ended a long time ago.
Yes. This nonsense would have ceased.
A long time ago. There's no way that we can have the same situation crossing over from the 70s into the 80s, into the 90s, into 2000, into the 2020.
Same thing.
Same issue. Year in, year out. It doesn't even take a break. At 10 years ago. No. Apana. Like you said, it's a criminal enterprise and it's inherited.
It is inherited. And there's a lot of money involved too.
Yeah, proper. So there's a story that would interest you here, page 4 of the Standard. The government has approved a new syllabus for teaching coding in primary and secondary schools.
Yes.
Coding, that is also known as programming, involves translating human intentions into commands that computers can understand. Without it, computers would be useless. The KICD CEO, Professor Charles Ongondo, said coding is a practical thinking activity that enables children to imagine, create, and solve problems. In the past, coding was conceived as a high-level activity, yet children can start engaging in early learning levels. The prof said the classes involve practical lessons. So in Kenya, the syllabus shall be offered by Codris Africa, an online publishing firm that specializes in equipping learners with 21st century skills such as creative problems, solving, and algorithmic thinking right from elementary level. Wow. Kenya is the first African country to approve this kind of syllabus. And they say that this company, Codris, will be offering the syllabus in another 48 nations on the continent, talking to telcos, banks, and other partners for the rollout, according to their CEO, Mugumu Munene. Well, it's a very good thing to actually get kids to start dealing with coding. And it takes us back into all those laptops while they supplied. Can you imagine if all schools then had access to computer services? When you roll out coding as part of the syllabus, it means that you've got to equip the schools to be able to offer that. And you have to start with the teachers. So teachers must know what the basics of coding, so that even as the kids go and they log on to this particular online syllabus by Codris, then the teachers already have the basics. This, I think, it's a good way to go. I hope the rollout of this is very well managed.
The thing is, anything that has to do with enhancing the digital skills of both the learner and the teachers is to be recommended. I mean, this is the information age. It's a necessary tool. It's not a luxury anymore. It's like saying that a computer is it's a tool. You need it. A phone, it's a tool. You need it.
Yep.
Yes.
It's like internet.
It is no longer just a pastime. It's something that if you want to conduct business efficiently and effectively, you have to be wired and connected to. Yes.
It's an interesting. There's an interesting move by the government.
It is.
Another story you're looking at.
Right. On that same story, just something that I'll take a minute to state. Kuppet wants more teachers hired by CBC. The Kenya Union of Post-Primary Education Teachers has questioned the government's preparedness to implement the competency-based curriculum in schools. They've questioned this before. They're continuing to question it. General Secretary Akelo Misori said the government is only focused on building infrastructure instead of employing teachers to address the deficit. This is not entirely true. Addressing the 45th Kenya Secondary Schools Heads Association Kesha National Conference at Sheikh Zayed Children's Welfare Center in Mombasa yesterday, these meetings always take place in Mombasa, don't they?
Yeah.
Okay. Mr. Misori said that 115,000 teachers must be hired for CBC to succeed. Preparation for the junior secondary is dominated by building infrastructure. We are looking at a shortage of teachers, yet the government introduced a 100% transition. I have to disagree here with Mr. Misori for one simple reason. The teachers exist. It's a question of hiring them. Infrastructure doesn't exist. So you need to put it in place. It is easier to hire the teachers than to put infrastructure. You hire teachers and there's no infrastructure.
Okay,
how are they going to teach?
So what are you disagreeing with here? Akelo Misori says the government has its priorities lopsided.
Yes, and I'm saying no, they don't.
So there are priorities in the right place.
I'm saying the priorities are in the right place.
First build the classrooms and then...
The teachers exist. They're just not employed. We have a large supply of teachers who have not been employed.
The fact that the teachers exist but they're not employed...
Yes.
They are not teaching.
No, they are not teaching. But if you were to employ them and they don't have the space, this is what you call the infrastructure in which to carry out their trade, we are going to have the same problem with her in worse form of congestion and what have you. So I am saying the plan to build infrastructure is not misplaced.
Okay.
If you have the infrastructure, the debate and the discussion around who to employ to fit in where is an easier fit because the supply of these, the part of this equation exists. You don't have to look for it. It actually exists. It's a question of finding out how you're going to employ them and how you're going to place them. It is far simpler than putting up the infrastructure. That's what I'm saying.
Good point. Good point. Fair point.
Yes.
The number of classrooms that we're seeing being rolled out under this program,
yes.
Okay, the 8 billion shillings program, Magoha has been going around the country inspecting. So you get 2 classrooms in a secondary school. Yes. Have you addressed everything that is needed?
No, you haven't, but you've started addressing it. That's the way I'm looking at it.
You know, the government doesn't sound like this is that it started.
You know,
the government is going to say, we have built classrooms, so we are ready to absorb the junior secondary pupils.
I couldn't agree with you more because they also provided desks, didn't they?
That's what they said.
Yeah, precisely. Well, they also provided many other things.
But desks was for the other thing because desks are not for this one.
That is precisely it. But
do you have the labs? Do you have the dormitories?
It is easier to move desks than it is to build if you already have the desks.
And it's easier to cram children in the same dormitory.
Precisely. Now, what I'm saying is, I am looking at it from the perspective of the progress that is being made, not the ultimate goal being reached.
You're saying a step is a good enough.
A step is a good thing. So we say, okay, guys, you've gotten here. Let's push it to the next level. Now get these teachers also so that we can populate these classes that you're building. That's really where I'm coming from.
How many teachers does Akelo Misori want hired immediately?
115,000.
Well,
but he's a politician.
He has to go for the maximum.
Yeah, I mean, he has to say things which if he was given that docket, he would not be able to do. but because it is not his docket, and all he can do is prescribe. The prescription bit of things is always easier.
Just say it. How many teachers do we need? 115. That's a shortfall. That's a gap that we have.
Yes.
I mean, if you're talking about absorbing junior secondary, I mean,
surely, if you really wanted something optimal, I would say 250,000.
But
yes, but since 150 is being modest, so.
Interesting story on page 10 and 11 of The Nation. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Higher. Are you prepared for the headline?
I am waiting with bated breath.
Puzzle: fake COVID tests hospital raised to level 5. A medical diagnostic outfit that was at the center of a near diplomatic tiff between Kenya and the UAE over controversial COVID-19 test results has been upgraded to level 5 status.
Okay.
Meditest Diagnostic Services, which operates Meditest hospitals in Nairobi and Medifort Hospital in Kisii, is in the process of transforming itself to Meditest International Hospital, which, according to its website, will have branches in Kenya, in India, Uganda, and South Africa. The two hospitals were on January 1st issued with licenses to operate as level 5 facilities by the Kenya Medical Practitioners and Dentists Council, KMPDC. The green light came through license number. They've given the license numbers. The Nation, on an undercover visit to Meditest, found a facility that would at best qualify to offer outpatient services wide not for its 8-bed inpatient ward, which we understand was launched in January after the hospital got a level 5 classification. The hospital lacks all the other necessary amenities of a level 5 facility, including an ambulance. They don't have an ambulance. They don't have a HDU. They don't have an ICU, an emergency unit, a pharmacy. They don't have a burns unit. They don't have a cold room or morgue, a fully equipped maternity unit, staff quarters, a kitchen, a laundry unit, a medical waste management system. Hey, how is this a hospital?
I don't know. You tell me. How is it a hospital?
These guys, sure, they went to the place, the right place. Sounds like they went just to Parklands and they looked for a house.
Carry on.
This
please.
Nation undercover team.
Carry on, please. Carry on.
In fact, the story says, the hospital has to order food from restaurants for its inpatients and hire casuals to wash the clothes of those admitted there. And should you visit the hospital with a communicable disease, you'll share the lifts with other tenants at Sculptor's house. The proprietor of the two hospitals, Sunil Kumar, has written to the Register of Companies on his intention to have both centers operate as Meditest International Hospital. The shareholder or proprietor is desirous of registering the above captioned trading name to serve as the name of the building that shall house all the above companies and businesses. The permits were issued on November 9th last year at the height of controversy over COVID-19 travel certification. The licenses for the two hospitals took effect on the 1st of January and are supposed to run until the end of this year. Calls and texts to the KMPDC CEO Daniel Yumbia about the procedures leading to the issuance of the two licenses were unanswered, and KMPDC classifies medical facilities based on several rounds of inspection of services, infrastructure, and personnel attending the patients. The health stations range from level 2, which is the lowest, to level 6, that is KNH, and Kenyatta University Teaching Referral and blah 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 hospital, and Moi Teaching blah 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 hospital. All right. A level 5 hospital is one that can handle more than 250 patients per day, and it has specialized clinics. Are we together so far? That's a level 5. A level 5 should also be able to offer specialized services such as radiotherapy, chemotherapy, renal dialysis, sterile production unit services, internship training, forensic pathology, and 24 hours pharmacy services. It should be built on at least 10 acres of land, have a 500-bed capacity, an ICU or HDU with at least 12 beds. There should also be an inpatient and outpatient pharmacy, a burns unit, a staff quarters for at least 8 people on duty. In terms of personnel, it should be led by a medical superintendent, leading a team of at least 15 medical officers, serving anesthesiologists, 2 cardiologists, 4 general surgeons, 2 orthopedic surgeons. The team should also include a critical care physician, at least 2 ENT, 3 gynecologists, 4 oncologists, 2 palliative care specialists. All those are, if you have all those things, then you can now ask to be called a level 5.
And these brothers don't have any of those things.
These brothers don't even have a kitchen.
No. See, we are told where they get the food from. We hold it.
Let me tell you. So, according to this undercover visit by the nation, they only have an 8-bed inpatient ward. 8-bed inpatient ward. That means you can only deal with 8 inpatient patients per day.
But 8 is a good start.
You need to have to be able to see 250 patients a day. The hospital lacks all the other necessary level 5 facility amenities, including an ambulance. They don't have an ambulance.
You're not being fair.
They don't have HDU and ICU.
If they already have.
They don't have emergency unit.
Okay.
They don't have a pharmacy.
Yes.
They don't have a burns unit. They don't have a cold room or a morgue. They don't have an equipped maternity unit. They don't have staff quarters. They don't have a kitchen. They don't have a laundry, medical waste management system. They don't have any of those things.
Okay.
According to this story.
And they're still level 5.
Yeah.
And who gave them the accreditation?
KMPDC, the one that gives accreditation to all health facilities
So
in the
how on
country.
earth did they arrive at this one here?
This one is now where the issue comes in. This is the same facility that they say when
let me just ask the question.
Ask.
Because it could be a typo. Maybe it's a 0.5 level.
Maybe that's what they meant.
Yes. Because everything you've said so far.
One day in future, you shall become a level 5.
But for now,
you start with 0.5.
Or 0.05. Yes. That's where, because everything you've described so far, there isn't anything that you could refer to as even being clinical about this establishment. Is there?
Aye. Listen to the other hospitals that are level 5 in this city, okay? You know Mater Misericordia Hospital.
Yes.
You know the Nairobi Women's Hospital.
Yes.
Guru Nanak Hospital.
Yes.
Metropolitan Hospital.
Yes.
Coptic.
Yes.
Avenue.
Yes.
Equator.
Yes.
Add Meditest. Unless there's something that the nation did not get.
I don't think so.
Like, maybe it was a typo in terms of 5. Maybe it was meant to be a 2.
But by the time they're publishing that thing, my friend,
they have gone to lengths.
And it's subject to an investigation. These are the findings. I do not think that there's fault here.
Aye.
The question that ought to be asked is, are we going to see the people who are involved in this process being arraigned in court? See, I've moved. Even I have moved. Before, I used to ask questions like, why are these people not being jailed? No.
At least take them to court.
Let them go to court.
Due process.
Let them go to court.
But then, that's why I'm asking you. KMPDC, right? It licenses all doctors. Okay? All.
Yes.
All clinical officers
Yes.
who practice in this country.
Yes.
All health facilities.
Yes.
Okay? When you have issues in the city or in the country about a health facility that is questionable, you see them conducting the raids and saying, you require to have this, and the other. So you can say you have issues with level 2, health clinics, level 3s, level 5. Level 5 is big. And even for them, they know the great exposure that this brings to them. How would they issue a level 5 license to a facility that does not meet the basic requirements?
There's a lot that needs to be told about this story.
Yeah.
This is surface information, and there's a lot we still do not know. Because you're saying that somebody blatantly went to turn a boarding and lodging into a hospital.
Into a hospital.
Yes. And claim it to be a level 5 hospital.
And the regulator said, yeah, sure, here.
No.
And you don't have such other cases in the country.
And the people who are regulators are people who are experts in this field. No. There's a lot that we do not know about this.
There's something here that needs a lot of answers.
I'm sure they do. There's something, yes. That something is what we need to find out, but this isn't the complete story.
The story will come out.
Yes, it will.
They've basically the nation has blown it out of the water.
Yes.
Now the actual story will come out.
It's just like the story of the prisons, the correctional services. We are now getting the tidbits
now
of
getting
the
the
individuals
tidbits.
who are actually involved in this process of supplying air.
Everything. Keep it here for more conversations. Good morning, 8:07 a.m.
Spice up your life. The latest news from around the world. 94.4 Spice FM.
Good morning, this is Newswire. I'm Dennis Aseto. Former Equity Chief Commercial Officer Polycarp Igathe has now officially announced that he is throwing his hat into the Nairobi governor's race. Igathe, who in 2017 resigned from the post of Deputy Governor 6 months after taking office on a joint ticket with then boss Mike Sonko, says he will be seeking the Jubilee Party ticket in his quest for the city's top seat. Igathe says that his decision was fueled by his passion to offer service delivery leadership. He cites his experience in the business world as the foundation of spearheading the metropolis county to the next level with the focus on eradicating corruption. Speaking on his 2017 resignation, Igathe dismissed claims that he stepped down since he was unable to perform, saying that the circumstances at the time hindered him from serving the city's residents. He was speaking on KTN News, and we will be having him on SpiceFM from 8 a.m. Be sure to join him so that you get to know who Polycarp Igathe is and his plans as the Nairobi governor. Now, the Orange Democratic Movement Party Appeals Tribunal is set to release the verdict on 9 appeals today in Kisumu. The Appeals Tribunal chairperson Frederick Orego stated that they had 2 panels hearing complaints arising from the party nominations recently held in Busia and Siaya counties. Orego indicated that 4 cases were arising from Busia County and already they have heard the parties. Orego pointed out that the election of Alego Usonga MP Samuel Arati was also contested and the tribunal gave all the parties a fair hearing. The Jubilee Party has cleared former Youth and Gender Principal Secretary Lillian Omolo to contest for the Embu senatorial seat in the August elections. Omolo, who is facing corruption charges emanating from the National Youth Service scandal, was handed the Jubilee Party direct ticket following consensus. The party's Director of Election, Kanini Kage, handed Omolo the ticket in an event that was witnessed by the party's Secretary General Jeremiah Kioni and the party's National Elections Board Chairperson Stephen Wandeto. Omolo stepped down from her role as the Principal Secretary in Youth and Gender Docket after being implicated in the multi-million shilling scandal. Now, Nandi Hills Member of Parliament Alfred Gater has won the United Democratic Alliance Party ticket to defend his seat in the August polls. Gater managed to secure victory in the Deputy President William Ruto-led party after flooring his competitors to clear him for the race. In the contest that had been postponed following the death of an aspirant in a road accident, the lawmaker garnered 10,273 votes ahead of Kitur Bernard Kibor, who got 7,468 votes. Now, Interior Cabinet Secretary Dr. Fred Matiang'i has raised concern over the alleged mushrooming of persons facing economic crime charges in the long list of aspirants eyeing elective seats in Parliament and county assemblies. CS Matiang'i made the sentiments following alleged intelligence reports that estimated that close to 40% of the suspected criminals and their accomplices would successfully be part of the next government once the August polls are set and done. He warned that the country will likely take a step back in its ongoing war against corruption, noting that the said persons will likely back laws that favor the thriving of criminal entities. Now, the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission has been allowed to preserve 257 million shillings in a bank account operated by a cleaner at the Kenya prison's headquarters. EACC has also obtained orders to preserve cars worth 32 million shillings and a house valued at 17.5 million shillings, all owned by the cleaner identified as Eric Kipkurui. Justice Esther Minor of the EACC's Anti-Corruption Division of the High Court gave the preservation orders. The judge issued the orders after EAC filed an application seeking to have the suspected properties preserved on grounds that they must have been acquired illegally as proceeds of corruption. Now, police are on the hunt for 3 suspected gangsters who allegedly robbed and killed a university student in Juja, Kiambu County. The suspects are said to have accosted 23-year-old Joel Juma, a 4th-year industrial chemistry student at the Jomo Kenyatta University of Agriculture and Technology at around 2 a.m. as he and his girlfriend were allegedly going to borrow exam revision materials from a colleague who lived near his residence. The gang of 3 would, however, descend on the pillar, with 2 of them physically assaulting the deceased before stabbing him twice on the chest and stealing his phone and other valuables. The remaining goon would focus his attention on the lady, a law student at the Mount Kenya University. He would, however, leave her unscathed after discovering that she was not carrying anything valuable at the time. According to the DCI, The commotion drew the attention of local security guards in the area, who arrived at the scene and rushed Juma and the visibly shaken lady to a nearby dispensary. Juma was, however, pronounced dead on arrival. This is Newswire. I'm Dennis Aseto. Good morning.
It's 7 a.m. and therefore you know what happens on Kiambu Road coming towards town. It's busy as you approach Muthaiga, and also Thika Superhighway as you get into that junction of Muthaiga, Kiambu Road and Thika Superhighway at Pangani. Busy. So the Kiambu Road section stretches all the way into Muthaiga heading towards DCI. The Thika Superhighway section stretches all the way past Utalii. And Muthaiga Road, of course, not traffic at all. But then, when you get into the underpass at Wangari Maathai Road, it's clear. Muranga Road is clear. So, don't worry. It's all moving. Uhuru Highway, and this is the section between Bunyala and Haile Selassie Avenue. It's very, very busy. I don't know what's happening there. And then North Airport Road from Eastern Bypass coming in towards the Mombasa Road section. It's also busy. Jogoo Road is busy at Makadara as usual. Langata Road is clear so far. Ngong Road is clear and nothing else major to report. If there is any incident that you come across on the road, please tag us on Twitter at SpiceFMKE.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Okoh, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latiff, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is The Situation Room, the only way to
8
start
minutes
your
after 7
day.
on the 20th day of March 2022, Kenya's biggest conversation. We are still in March until the day we hear that power bills are coming down by 15%, and on the day that Uhuru Kenyatta will launch the expressway, among other things. Until then, we're not crossing over into March. The president has to launch April.
It's fitting.
Yes.
It's fitting because when he got hold of March and positioned certain key occurrences in the month, then it meant that until those particular activities were actually brought to fruition, we're stuck in March.
Imagine you're stuck in March. Even the election can't take place.
My friend, if we don't move beyond March,
how do we get to August?
My friend, you really need to get to April 1st before you get to May and then the others.
Yes.
So are we in a happy place?
I don't know. We're mark timing.
We are in an unlikely place.
Reminding you of what Colgate is doing, and Colgate, working together with Well Boring, a UK NGO, have been working in 7 counties and sinking wells to support schools and communities getting access to water. Now, they're saying that by the end of this year, they want to sink 30 more wells, by the end of this calendar year, not financial year. And what they'd like is for us to work with them on this. So if you go to Naivas and you buy Colgate, some 10 shillings out of that purchase will go into this particular initiative. It's a good one, right?
I think it's an excellent initiative. You see, one of the things that we don't like in this country, individuals, corporate entities taking the initiative to do things for people. I dare say things that the government ought to be doing. And here, I'm not referring to national government. No. I'm referring to county government and I'm referring to national government at the same time.
Yeah.
Because these are essentials. So by the time you find private entities, private business entities going into this, the need has been seen, nothing substantial seems to have been done. So they realize someone has to step in.
Someone has to step in and do something about it.
It's like now with Safaricom and what they're doing in Marsabit area, providing food together with other entities. Meaning this is a gap, it needs to be filled. So instead of waiting and standing by and asking why is the government not doing it, why don't we do something about it?
Last year, President Uhuru Kenyatta declared the ongoing drought a national disaster in the country. Immediately set off some 2 billion shillings and said, let's seek to cover a 6 billion shilling deficit that we need to feed the people. Have we seen much movement on that 6 billion shillings from the government? Not much. So now the private sector, led by Safaricom, media houses, including the Standard Group, are here doing the Pamoja Tuungane drive. Let's come together, support our brothers and sisters who are affected by drought. Dial *126#, donate cash or bonga points, or donate food items to go and help feed the people. What's the government doing?
Talking about what they're going to do. Yes.
Just tell us about the proverb.
Right. Misfortune that comes to town does not wear a turban. You brought in a very interesting point. Why a turban? Why not a mask?
Yeah, why not? Why not mask?
And why doesn't the misfortune carry a spear or a gun? Why does it wear a turban? Because turbans are very specific to certain communities and certain ethnicities.
And then they would stand out if they went to Benin.
They would most definitely stand out because a good number of the people who are there will not be wearing turbans.
The people of Benin don't ordinarily wear turbans. And that's why if somebody came wearing a turban, you'd tell.
They'd stand out.
He's a stranger.
It would stand out.
So misfortune will not come cloaked like a stranger.
No, it won't come with blaring horns announcing that it has arrived. No. You won't even notice it has arrived. Yes.
Interesting one. Some debate was kicked off by Charity Ngilu and other women the day before yesterday. And this was with regards to... No, in fact, so it wasn't kicked off. Some debate has just been going on and then it got some new legs when the women Azimio leaders came out and said, you know what, we'd like a running mate for Raila Odinga to be a woman and we propose that Martha Karua is the right person for this job. We had heard these conversations before. We've even had the conversations in the Kenya Kwanza side where they've been propping the Kirinyaga governor, Anne Waiguru, as a suitable running mate for William Ruto. On the Azimio side, we have seen debate left, right and center. Supporters and allies of Kalonzo Musyoka coming out to say, you know what, it's an obvious... Why are we even having a discussion here? It's an obvious thing that the running mate for Raila Odinga should be Kalonzo Musyoka. I mean, come on. Just use your brain if you've got some. Kalonzo himself has come out to say, but yes, yesterday, Wiper Women's League chairperson Rose Museo was addressing the media, accompanied by other women league leaders, and they said, it's not even a conversation that we would want to have. The person to be Raila's running mate should be Kalonzo Musyoka. The headline in The Nation yesterday, in fact, even the headline in the Standard yesterday was, we have now these two powerful women from Kirinyaga County as being touted as, the possible and suitable candidates for running mates.
Frontrunners, actually.
Frontrunners in the two camps. Are we getting closer and closer to actually having a woman vice president for the first time?
I think we are getting closer and closer to entertaining the idea that such a possibility may actually happen. But as to whether we are ready to accept that there will be a woman vice president, that is not outside the realm of possibility. No. That it is a subject of debate and that it is a subject of discussion. It means negotiations are taking place. Now, what sort of negotiations take place in this? Because there are people who feel that because of the numbers they bring to the table, and I think this is the one argument that the Kalonzo side would have. We have the numbers. Yes, you do have the numbers. But are numbers the only thing that you consider? And when you say vie and you want a vice president position, against what background and what else will you want? Because remember, these are finite numbers. It's not as though they just keep expanding because you wish them to be. Other people also want the same numbers, and they could argue we have even more numbers than you. But we do not want the vice presidency. So, what is the opportunity cost? If you get the vice presidency, what else do you miss out on? If instead of the vice president you say, okay, let me have 5 ministerial posts, and let's create a special something for me as a minister in charge of 3 or 4 portfolios. So I will be powerful, but I won't have the title. Whereas an equally populous place, which is the mountain region, gets somebody from among them. But so that we give it a nice little twist, and probably twist the knife into one of the 2 people, you give it to a lady, okay? But Mount Kenya can then not say they do not have a vice president. But this is a really independent-minded vice president, individual who, by all accounts, is not going to be somebody who people are going to be telling what to do, okay? Then there'll be others who will come from other regions who will also want their share. So, at the heart of this discussion is what it is that this presidential candidate would want and what they hope to see and what they hope to also balance. Because there's the same argument that you could have for the deputy president's party and his people. Are they also ready to have a woman vice president? Is the country ready? If we were not ready to action the 2/3 gender rule, is it 1/3 gender rule? 2/3 gender rule. If we weren't ready, Parliament, he and Horde, and we never got there. Now, tell me, when it comes to the political class, because it's the politicians who are playing around these things. The electorate have shown a willingness to elect women, and they elect women, and the numbers keep increasing. How then do you think they are going to feel about something that they believe is theirs? It is a position that men think and feel they're entitled to.
The men politicians.
Yes, they're entitled to, and it's them who should bargain. But political bargaining is never simple. It's not this or that. No. It's many things. So when someone takes a hardline position like the one we hear Mr. Kalonzo taking, it's not that Kalonzo is taking a hardline position. Kalonzo is negotiating. That's all he's doing. He's negotiating. Now, what I'd like to see is
pushing a hard bargain.
Yes, I want to see whether he's going to negotiate for himself, because if he gets vice president, that's himself, or is he going to negotiate for his people?
Or is it coming with deputy president plus?
Yes.
So I get the deputy presidency, and also I get 3 cabinet slots, plus I get blah, 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 this and the other, plus I'll have...
That's where it gets tricky, because the moment you get vice presidency, you've already taken some pluses with you. The vice presidency comes with other pluses. If you don't get it, then you can ask for more pluses.
So I think the vice presidency just comes, you get the DP and you shut up. Then somebody else comes and negotiates.
You get 2 more people because you've already got the VP.
Why 2?
I'm giving an example, okay? Because the other people also have numbers and we have to accommodate them, and they don't have the VP. You do.
So because we're talking about very many parties here that have come together.
Yes.
We have Jubilee, so we have Jubilee. Uhuru Kenyatta is going to be the head of the Jubilee, whatever, or not the Azimio, whatever organ.
Chairman.
Yes. You have Raphael Tuju, who's been in Jubilee, who's now the secretary of this Azimio, blah, 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 blah. You have the party leader of ODM, Raila, who's the presidential flag bearer. You have Kalonzo, who's now saying, okay, where is my place? I want this. You have Martha Karua, who's saying, where is my place? Gideon Moi will also be asking. Wafula Wamunyinyi will also be, boss.
Yes, exactly. That is precisely it. So now, you shout, look, if I listen...
So if you get the DP, basically, you're getting a DP plus, it gets 2 things.
So we're part of DP. That's big.
If you get the DP and you get 2 things, what is the president getting? President alone?
The president will get the lion's share. Because at the end of the day, he's president. Let me explain. When you had 2 parties, you could talk about 50-50. This one, people are going to... You get an 1/8. Okay? And that 1/8, you get into negotiation because you have to show exactly what it is that you're bringing in.
And which side of the 1/8?
Precisely, because you may be part of it.
1/8 or fertile 1/8.
Precisely. You see, the outcome of the election will also play a big role in this. Because if the election is won by someone with a big percentile, then your contribution may not be as significant as you think. So your bargaining power will be reduced significantly. All I'm saying is that the dynamics of negotiations have been put in place. And what we're seeing right now, okay?
Yes.
Right from the point where Kalonzo talked about him being considered to be an absolute idiot if he were to support Raila again, to the position now when he's saying he, Raila and Uhuru are the ones who started Azimio and they're discussing. It's political speak.
Even getting his name, One Kenya Alliance, into the whole thing.
Yes.
Azimio, One Kenya.
Yes. That is political craft at its best. Say one thing, get the attention of the people, then start negotiating from that position. It's negotiation. It never was anything other than just a seasoned politician knowing how to negotiate.
So this is just jostling.
It's jostling.
For space.
All the things you're seeing. Yeah. Even the inclusion of the discussion of Martha Karua. All right, if we can't get Martha, then what do we get? That's the other discussion.
If not Martha, then who?
Then what? Who and then what else do we get?
And then that would be who would be bringing that negotiation now? The Women League?
The women have already positioned themselves as the Women's League. So it's now us as women. They've put the individual parties aside.
Okay.
What do we get?
Yeah.
And they are clearly what they're saying by asking for the vice presidency. You're not going to throw us the token one ministerial position.
This time, just 1/3.
No, you're not giving us any of that.
It's
that
not just the 1/3.
One that we already have.
That is, the Constitution has given us 1/3.
Yes.
What are you giving us?
Yes. Now, in this, in your cabinet, the minimum we want is a third. So,
that's
if you're not giving us Martha, what are you giving us? But the third is the starting point, negotiation. Because if they negotiate with the individual parties, they will not gain as much as if they negotiate as a caucus. Yes. And everybody benefits if you're in that caucus.
So you think even throwing in the Martha candidacy here or the Martha, frontlining Martha for running mate is just negotiation?
It is negotiation.
They don't really mean it.
It is negotiation.
They don't really mean it?
No, they mean it, but it's negotiation. What they mean is we also want to be counted when people are being counted. When these men are counting themselves.
There's a group of people called women.
Yes, we are also being counted, and we also want a voice like everybody else, and we also want to be considered like everybody else. And
okay.
Yes.
So then the question comes in, the numbers. If Kalonzo is saying, I've got the numbers, can the women say they've got the numbers?
They can. They can.
50% of the voters are women.
There is no political party that doesn't have a female caucus or a women caucus.
Can they use that to negotiate? Can they use that to say, same way Kalonzo is coming here and saying, I've got 2 million people. I've got a group of 2 million people who I just need to convince them where to vote and they'll vote. All right? Can Gilu and the others, the Sabina Sheges and the Karo Karogus, go and say, as women, we are bringing in, out of the 20 million registered voters, 10 million?
Yes, they can. You see, you'll argue and say, but these women are affiliated to parties. But we also know that some of the most consistent voters we have in the country are women. They are a force to reckon with. And that is why you keep seeing women legislators being elected, not nominated, elected. And the numbers keep increasing. I dare say the people who vote for them, one could argue is women. But even if it was men, you would argue that they have been seen not as women, but as credible leaders who happen to be women.
What do you think? Is it about time we had a deputy president, a female deputy president?
You want my opinion?
Yes.
Even a president, a female president, it's about time we had one. If you ask my opinion. Yes.
So this particular time, if Ruto came and sought your opinion, you'd say, go with Ann Waiguru.
I'd say choose the woman you think would represent your case well, but it will be in your interest to have a woman.
Go with a woman.
I would say so.
You would tell Raila, go with a woman.
I would tell Raila, go with a woman. Choose a woman whom you think would represent your candidature well, but choose a woman.
Then let me present to you these two scenarios. A scenario where either of these two candidates, either Raila or Ruto, picks a woman running mate and the other person doesn't. Would it influence the votes?
Yes, it would.
If, say, Raila had a woman running mate and Ruto did not have a woman running mate,
yes,
how would the vote sway?
It depends on the people,
the candidates.
Yes, and the narrative creators. If they are smart enough, they will paint the person who has chosen the female running mate as the more progressive and the person who has a keener interest on the welfare of women. And the other one will be the Neanderthal who wants to maintain the status quo and the chauvinism and the dominance of men in everything. It's a question of who now...
Would that work?
It can work. It can work, but it doesn't have to work.
If it's painted that way, would it like, why am I voting for this person who's such a Neanderthal and what else do you call them? All those are things. Versus a progressive, forward-looking...
Yes. The thing is, very many communities in this country haven't gotten to the point where they think that women should actually even be in politics. Forget being voted for. There are many communities. But the numbers are dwindling with every passing day. Okay? And part of the reason is because the women who are elected, many of them have proven to be extremely good leaders. There are those who haven't, but that's just thing that happened. It's the person. It's not that even if they were men, they would probably just, they would be exactly the way they are. But the change that I'm talking about, the optics that one provides. Remember, we're talking about a country where not just exposure, but just the understanding of the role of women has taken leaps and bounds. And the leaps and bounds have moved in the direction of favoring women and putting women in a very positive light. Now, once you have that situation, you cannot then argue that women don't have a say. They do have a say. The reason you people think women don't have a say, they don't shout loudly the way the men do. They are not violent with their words, and they don't go around being dramatic the way men do in politics. But they do have a say in that quiet way. They do have a say. And they influence very many elections around this country. They are a solid vote if you have their backing.
I'd like us to open this conversation to our audience. 0722, what's the other number?
Start with 0722.
See, I've lost.
Let the
it's
audience
0719.
Let our audience fill in the blanks. We've been telling them this every day. 0722, then carry on. Just ingine. If you truly listen to this show every day.
So, Raila Odinga specifically on the Azimio camp, okay? We've got the two front runners for deputy president. And we want to ask you, if you were Raila Odinga, whom would you pick between Kalonzo Musyoka and Martha Karua? These two are both experienced politicians. Kalonzo has been in politics since the early 80s, has been a member of parliament, has risen to be a vice president. Andrew Franklin says he was Kibaki's VP for 10 years. No, it was actually just 5 years. The second time of VP of Kibaki. In the first time, we know it was Kijana Wamalwa and then Mudi Awori.
Yes.
So he was vice president for 5 years. He has served as foreign affairs minister. He has served as minister for education, minister for very many other things. He has been there at the top levels of government.
The man has been there.
He's an experienced politician.
Yes.
Martha Karua, same. Since the 90s, 92, experienced politician, has been there, has been in the trenches, has been fighting and pushing for...
A giant beater. Martha is...
Giant slayer.
Yeah, yes. Martha is not your average garden variety politician.
Who did she beat?
Bana, the person she beat was someone who had been head of the civil service, my friend. Yes. Now, that is not somebody that's not your ordinary citizen. That's somebody with
when she went to Geshogo the first time to run as MP, she felt somebody who was a giant in the area, had been a member of parliament for a while, had been head of civil service.
Yes, that's a big man.
And then she came in and she made a name for herself.
4 terms, Baba.
Got re-elected in 97, got re-elected in 02, got re-elected.
She just kept getting re-elected. What does that tell you? And there were people standing with her. It's not as though she was getting a unanimous. She was being re-elected and there were men standing against her. She must have figured this formula and got it right. And her people said, it is okay. We'll keep voting you in. 4-term MP. Man, not many people manage to do that. 2-term is a feat. 3, monumental. 4, sensational. So, she's been in the trenches. She's a fighter, doesn't back away from a fight. You know,
many have described her as the only man in Kibaki's cabinet.
I'm not certain how positive that particular, whether it's actually even a compliment. But
she's the only one who could stand.
Yes. When other people were slinking away.
Now, she was clear. This is
what we're going to do.
Yeah.
You see, the thing about politics, and why you always hear me talk about negotiation, is because it is something that I thank God we have perfected in this country. It is one of the best things that any country can have. The ability to negotiate your ways out of problems. It's a problem. People say, okay, guys, let's talk. Let's find a way around this one. You see, choosing a deputy is not just choosing a deputy because of the numbers, if only it were just so. No. There are the equations you balance. You want to satisfy this person and make them feel that their numbers count, and you want to provide an alternative which, if they don't get that vice presidency, you want to offer them something that will point to them getting something even bigger than what they wanted. So they actually gain by that. Whereas you also want to convince some other part of the country which also have numbers that, you know something, you haven't been left out. And by this representation, what we are then saying is that you have a say, and this is how we are going about it. My understanding of this stems from the early days of the Jomo Kenyatta administration and how they used to divide the cabinet posts. Yeah, I mean, Kiambu got the lion's share, around 7 cabinet posts. That's a subject for another discussion. But you could see Eastern, 1. Cumberland, 1. Eastern as in Embu. Meru, 1. Northeastern, none. Rift Valley, there was Moi, there was Taita Arap Toet, then maybe there's one other person. You move to Western, maybe 2 people, or Sogo and somebody else. You move to Nyanza, you would get 3, then maybe 1 gentleman from Kisii. Coast, 1, maybe 2, somebody from Taita. Masai Land, later on, it's only in the Moi era that you got assistant minister or the minister. Now,
there was Oletipis.
Yes.
In the Kenyatta.
In the Kenyatta. Was it? No.
Jackson Oletipis.
Oletipis was a slender guy.
Yes. The one with the Masharubu. From Narok.
One guy.
And then Oloi Tip in the Moira.
Moira, yes. I was confusing the two. Now, you look at that division, what do you think they were satisfying? They wanted people to understand that they've been considered. So why did some regions get 3 and others get 2 and others get 1? Why?
Strength.
Precisely. Some just
political influence.
Yes, some just thought that they is what I call the delusion of exceptionalism, that they're better than others, so then they should get more.
Yeah.
But we've moved away from that politics. Look at the way Moi played it. Look at the KANU bigwigs and the regions they came from. Each region more or less had a
balanced. Each region had a kingpin.
They did. And they had a position in his cabinet. You could be either assistant minister, but you had a position. But the position in KANU was even more powerful than the cabinet or the assistant cabinet position that you had.
Yeah.
You see? Now, the game hasn't changed in terms of looking for that balance in this time. And the coalitions have made it even juicy and more interesting. Because now it's not a question of choosing an individual. The individual comes with his party.
Yeah.
And that party comes with its affiliation. So you have a whole new discussion. And in my mind, it is more equitable. Because it's not the person you're choosing the bloc that supports this person. So the representation is even greater, in my mind.
Let's take a break at this point at 28 minutes to 8. We want you to join the conversation. If you were Raila Odinga today, who between Kalonzo Musyoka and Martha Karua would you pick as your running mate for the August 9th general election? If you're Raila Odinga today, who between Kalonzo and Martha Karua would you pick as your running mate? And we're picking those two because they have some strong conversations and communication out right now saying that each of them ought to be the running mate for Raila Odinga. And we're actually seeing it's a running mate headache for Azimio la Umoja as leaders dig in. So if you are Raila, who would you pick? 0719 012 600. I remember the number. Hey, it had gone. It comes automatically. 0719 012 600. That's the number to call. Let's take this break. Remember, Crime and Justice Season 2 is out now on Showmax, and for only 760 shillings. That's where you start. You get to subscribe to Showmax every month, and you get to access Crime and Justice Season 2, Season 1, plus other interesting entertainment.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation. Brought to you by Colgate.
Classic soul, R&B, smooth jazz, neo soul, and nostalgic ballads.
Make some noise. Yeah!
You're listening to Spice FM.
Access to safe water is a fundamental human need, and therefore a basic human right. Unfortunately, hundreds of thousands of children across Kenya lack access to clean drinking water, a situation that leads them to miss out on school as they search for water for their families. Colgate, a household brand with a well-earned reputation for putting a smile on your face, wants to put a smile on the faces of children and the communities across Kenya by giving them access to safe and reliable sources of water. Over the next 2 months, every pack of Colgate that you buy at any Naivas store will go towards helping build approximately 30 additional water wells that will provide clean water for about 120,000 people. If you want to help Colgate and well boring over and above the purchasing of Colgate products, you can donate via M-Pesa through the paybill number 4071241. ensuring an even larger impact on the lives of Kenyans. Now that's something to smile about. Visit the Colgate Kenya Facebook page or go to wellboring.org/Colgate/ for more information. Terms and conditions apply. The only way to live your best life is to create a balance between work, love, and play.
Smoking shisha and releasing things on your smoke like a Subaru. Right. You understand what I'm saying? Yes. And you want God to give you a man who has a mission and a vision.
You may create an illusion of, because he's younger, he's interested in me.
So what's happening today in Nairobi is a rainy day and heavily cloudy. Highs of 24 in Nairobi today and lows of 16. Mombasa, rainy day as well. Highs of 31 and lows of 25. Malindi, rain showers. Highs of 31 and lows of 26. Nakuru, cloudy day. 24 highs and lows of 15. It's cloudy right now in Kisumu. It's going to be a cloudy day at 27 and lows of 19. Kakamega, 25 highs and lows of 13, and cloudy day. And Eldoret, also cloudy at 25 and lows of 16. Kampala, rain showers, 25, lows of 16. Dar es Salaam, light rains at 31 and lows of 24. Johannesburg, mostly cloudy at 19 and lows of 7. Kinshasa, rain showers, 30 highs, lows 23. Lagos, Nigeria, mostly clear skies today, highs of 32, lows of 25. London, mostly clear skies at 17, highs and lows of 8. New York, it's going to be a clear morning and day at highs of 16, lows of 6. Paris, 18 highs and lows of 6. And then Beijing, it's sunny afternoon, highs of 29 and lows of 17.
Classic soul, R&B, smooth jazz, neo soul, and nostalgic ballads.
Make some noise. Yeah.
You're listening to Spice FM.
Kiambu Road, you know yourselves. Yes, just be patient as you get towards the Thika Road interchange. Thika Road people, you know yourselves. This thing is stretching all the way past Survey this morning. It's easing off after you get into that interchange and you mix the traffic from Kiambu Road. Then after that, you get into the underpass to go to Wangari Maathai Road. It's all clear. I think Kenha need to do something about this Kiambu Road and Thika Superhighway interchange. It's always a problem because after the traffic merges at Pangani, it moves.
It moves very quickly.
Muranga Road, there's no issue. Wangari Maathai Way, there's no issue.
Interchange.
Kenha, you need to do something about that. Langata Road is now building up as you head towards the T-Mall Junction. It goes way, way past the Wilson Airport into heading actually towards the Southern Bypass Junction. That is an issue on Mombasa Road. On Langata Road. On Mombasa Road, there's an issue along Imara Daima, and this is happening right now. Imara Daima and Enterprise Road, because of that interchange as well into Enterprise Road and the turn off back towards the city. There's a snarl up. Other roads are looking like they usually do in the morning. Busy, but nothing major to report. If there's anything that we ought to talk about, at SpiceFM KE, that's our Twitter handle.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself.
21 minutes to 8. The conversation continues. This is the Situation Room on Spice FM.
94.4 Spice FM.
On YouTube and Facebook, Spice FM KE. That's our Facebook page and our YouTube channel as well. Eric Latiff and CT Muga. Our colleague Okoh is still away. She was enjoying some Easter holiday. She'll be back hopefully tomorrow or later in the week. Or she can even just take a bit of a longer rest and come back next week. Who knows? Here is a situation that we're presenting to you this morning. If you are Raila Odinga, and of course, if you're Raila Odinga, then you would be the person who is the flag bearer for the Azimio One Kenya coalition. You have this running mate headache. You've been presented two people. One of them is Martha Wangari Karua, and the other one is Stephen Kalonzo Musyoka. Pick one as your running mate. Which of them would you pick and why? Between Martha Karua and Kalonzo Musyoka, whom would you pick as your running mate and why? 0719-012-600. Let's hear from you. The Standard has this story today, running mate headache for Azimio La Umoja as leaders dig in. Despite setting up a national committee to determine a fitting running mate, a tug of war within Azimio has seen individuals and groups try to influence the process. A solid running mate must be able to marshal votes and have a national appeal. Well, lessons taken from the fallout between the President Uhuru Kenyatta and his deputy William Ruto. A shared vision of purpose and values is also critical between the flag bearer and the running mate. In the past elections, Raila has received few votes from Mount Kenya, and Azimio is now keen to show up the support from the region. COTU Secretary General Francis Atwoli says President Kenyatta's experience should be a lesson for any presidential candidate. Atwoli says, I would want Raila to pick an honest person who respects a hierarchy and not someone who would be appointed today and start campaigning tomorrow. He needs someone who will give him enough peace to deliver to Kenyans. The COTU boss believes Raila has the ability to select a running mate. Nobody should choose a running mate for Raila. If you do so and he gets another Ruto, you'll have it will be you to blame. So who would you pick between Kalonzo Musyoka and Martha Karua if you are Raila Odinga? Karanja in Naivasha, good morning.
Good morning, Eric and City.
Good morning, Karanja.
Yes, thank you very much for that robust discussion in the morning situation room.
Mm-hmm.
If I would be Raila Odinga today,
yes,
I could have thrown my weight to Martha Karua.
Why?
Given the fact that Martha Karua is so influential to many women in Kenya. Remember the Martha Karua history? He stood with Martha Wangari during the oppressive regime. Number two, Martha Karua was the only minister whom I have had to resign during the Kibaki regime. You know, he said he cannot work as her own hand was tied. Now, I would throw my weight to Martha Karua. He is the best candidate, and he can even do better than anybody else. Thank you very much, Eric and City.
Thank you very much, Karanja. This is Kenya's biggest conversation. So between Martha Karua and Kalonzo Musyoka, if you are Raila Odinga, who would you pick as your running mate? Ed.
Morning, Eric. How are you doing?
Very well. It's been a while, Ed. How are you?
It's been a while. I'm doing great. I hope nilikutuma salamu jana.
Nilipata salamu usiku. Now that you're here, tuma salamu peke yako kwa City.
Yeah, City. Good morning. It's been long, huh?
How are you, sir?
I'm doing good. Kungana tu na
habari za safari zako nyingi za hapa na pale.
Safari zangu zilikatizwa na mafuta kidogo, lakini tuna survive tu.
Nashukuru kusikia hivyo.
Inabidi. You know, Eric belongs to the higher echelon. Ameshajaribu expressway. So, he's a doyen. No.
Kutumia expressway ni kama kusema ulienda Alliance. Anyway, Ed, if you are Raila today, which of these two would you pick?
I would pick Martha Wangari Karua, Eric.
Why?
She is a very passionate woman. And she's one woman, if she is set out on plan A, she doesn't, waver from it.
Okay.
And I've not known Martha Wangari Karua as a whiner, you know. She's not the type of person she's going to go and be like, at a press conference, tulisema. No. She is a fighter.
She'll stick by what has been agreed.
She'll stick as to what has been agreed, and whether you would wink her or not, she doesn't care, as long as her agenda has gone through. Okay. If she's passionate about the people, she'll do it. But Justin Kalonzo, my friend, I think Raila would be better off funding a 2-year-old with a gun, and that's my take.
Thank you, Ed. James in Rongai, good morning.
Hi, morning, guys. How are you doing?
Very well, thank you, sir. And how are you?
I'm fine, thank you. This is my first time to call the Situation Room.
Karibu sana.
Yep, mine is very much brief.
Mm-hmm.
I want to go right to the point.
Mm-hmm.
If I were Raila, I would choose Kalonzo Musyoka.
Why?
He has votes. He has around 2 million votes.
Mm-hmm.
He is somebody you can work with. He's not suffering from what we call intellectual, ignorance.
Mm. What does that mean? What is intellectual ignorance?
Okay, Martha, you cannot work with Martha.
Why?
She's somebody who can just wake up one morning and resign. And that is what we don't want with somebody who's holding that post of deputy president. Yeah, it is a fact. It is a truism. It's a fact.
Yeah, because she's done it before, once before.
Yeah, Martha can just wake up and resign, and we don't want such things.
Okay.
There's no vote. That's a fact. It's a truth. A fact is always sacred, and opinion is free.
That's true. Thank you very much, James.
Let's go. You should go with the Kalonzo Musyoka. He has votes.
Thank you, James. Have a lovely day, and thank you for calling in.
Have it too. Bye.
Asante. John.
Morning, guys. Habari ya masiku.
Salama kabisa, John.
Now, I can't agree more with the previous caller.
Uh-huh.
The most unfortunate thing, the positive things about Martha Karua are the same things that can make her not to be given that position.
Which are?
The independence, nobody wants another Ruto as a vice president.
So you want a yes person?
Exactly. That's what people are looking for. So that is one. And two, also numbers. I'm not sure. I might be wrong, but I'm not sure Martha Karua would bring that Mount Kenya vote because she's from the Mount Kenya. So any day, Kalonzo would be more. I would go for Kalonzo any day.
Let me ask you, John.
Yes, sir.
If Kalonzo is not running mate, are you saying that he will not be able to convince the numbers that he still has to still vote for Raila?
I don't think so. He will not. Actually, he might want to, but just the people on the ground. The ground would not be. And the other people would easily go to the ground and convince them. You have had people telling them, what huyu mtu amepelekwa hivi na hivi na hivi, sasa hata walimwambia hii hawajampatia. So it will be very difficult for him to sell Raila on the ground.
Thank you, John. We've got other callers on the line. Thank you very much. John in Molo. Hi.
Yes, how are you? Good morning.
Good morning to you.
I like so much listening to your show.
Asante.
And I like what you're talking about. I don't think Raila should pick either Martha Karua nor Kalonzo Musyoka.
Interesting. Why?
Because I think they are what do we call it? Do you want us to get a situation like there's a similar situation that we have with Uhuru Kenyatta and William Ruto? Because they are both very ambitious people.
Mm-hmm.
I think what we need now is rather to get somebody who doesn't have very high political ambitions.
Who would you suggest?
Because down there, I would suggest someone like somebody like Kananu or somebody like Charity Ngiru doesn't seem to have very, very high political ambitions.
Charity?
Yeah, Charity Ngiru doesn't seem to have very high ambitions being a president. But if you look
may I
like...
remind you that Charity has actually tried to be president before.
Yeah, a long time ago, but now it seems like she has settled not being president anymore.
Yeah.
And what she really wants right now is just to be governor of Kitui, and that's it. But if he goes for Martha Karua, Martha Karua will, even her political ambition will be amplified 10 times more.
Okay,
and then down the line, you might find her resigning before even 2 years are over, because I am very sure Mother Karua will not be a pushover.
Okay.
What Raila or Ruto needs are people who are loyal.
Okay.
Who will be loyal for the next 5 or 10 years, who don't have very high political ambitions. Yeah, people like that, but not
Yes,
Kalonzo
people.
Musyoka. Or,
Thank you, John.
or-
Thank you very much for calling in.
all right.
Good day. Esther in Mombasa.
Hi, shikamo kwa City na kwa Latiff.
Marahaba, hujambo lakini?
Si jambo kabisa, kunanyesha huku kabisa.
Poleni lakini ama niseme hongera.
Hongera. So,
Esther,
my opinion.
you are Raila.
Yes,
Pick a running mate.
Martha Karua.
Why?
We do not need cowards.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not saying the one you said on
The
the opposite
alternatives
side
are
is
cowards.
a coward. But it is to defy what my two callers have said. That we don't need somebody who is threatening. No, those are just, unaangalia vitu vidogo kama hizo za nini. Look at the bigger picture and see where are we right now, where do we need to go. See personality issues. If he picks me today and I have a manifesto as why can't I be? You know, you have to believe and see that our mindsets have to change. And they have to change today. Ati unataka sijui nini zifanywe. This lady understands so many things. She's historical. She has all the other things that all the others have, other than the new ones who are coming. They already know how the country is ruled. She's bombed, meaning she has stomach, and she has a lot of things. And if you count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, this other guy had already his chance. And let us give her a chance. So I'm not advocating, but I'm saying out of the two choices,
You'd go with Martha.
Any simple time,
Martha.
Listen to
Thank
us,
you.
you will see why.
Thank you,
Okay.
Esther. Good day. Martin, still in Mombasa. How are you?
Fine, thank you. Hi, Eric. Hi, City.
Hello.
Hi. Hi, mine is just a quick one and a short one. I will choose Martha Karua. And it is because of the simple fact that politics is about optics. The end just justifies the means. Let's not be academic here. If we choose Martha Karua to go with Raila, and we assume that maybe it will be Waigoro going with Ruto, it will be a much better fit for Raila to have Martha Karua than Kalonzo. Sometimes the end justifies the means. It's not about being academic who did what, but it's just a perfect fit.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Martin. Sami in Magarini, Malindi.
Yes, good morning, guys.
Morning, Sami.
How are you doing?
We're very well,
Fine.
thanks. How are you?
Yes, it's quite some time. I've not been actually contributing because I have some problems. I lost my wife last year.
Pole Sami.
Pole, ndugu.
Yeah, let me go straight to the point that actually Raila is actually having is in a position we call equilibrium. In fact, he has to choose between Kalonzo or Martha Karua. But considering that Martha Karua might not bring much votes from Mount Kenya, Kalonzo would be a much better because there is a lot of votes in Kampani. That's about 2 million. And people of Kampani would actually vote for Raila mostly because of what he actually has been promising the Kamba people that first Kalonzo would be the vice president or deputy president. But
Sami, we have an issue with your line, but we get your point. Thank you very much for calling. We have an issue with your line, but we get your point. He says Kalonzo would be a better fit for Raila. Christopher in Mombasa.
Yes, good morning.
Good morning.
I'll just go straight to the point.
Yes, please.
Kalonzo Musyoka.
Why?
Now, I am thinking of they're already in government
Mm-hmm.
and they have a problem.
Mm-hmm.
Kalonzo will consult widely. Martha Karua might think within herself and she will say this is right and we will follow this direction. On the other end, Kalonzo will consult widely and will give the best advice to Raila. Period.
Okay. Thank you, Christopher. Let's hear from Job in Kisumu. Good morning.
Morning.
How are you, Job?
I'm fine, thank you.
If you were Raila Odinga and you were to pick a running mate today between Kalonzo and Martha Karua, whom would you go for?
Mine is simple and self-explanatory. Martha Karua.
Mm-hmm. It's not self-explanatory. Please explain.
Martha Karua because I believe Martha is a competent leader and somebody who is very brave. Yes.
So she would be the better one.
Yes.
Resolute and independent. Thank you, Job. 0719-012-600. That's 0719-012-600. If you were Raila Odinga today, who between Kalonzo Musyoka and Martha Karua would you pick as your running mate for the August 9th general election or presidential election? Who do you pick as your running mate for the presidential election on August 9th between Kalonzo Musyoka and Martha Karua? And we're putting this two because this is what is currently, like you keep saying, City, politics changes every new day. So far, what we have is Kalonzo Musyoka coming out personally and his allies to say, I want to be the one who's picked as the running mate. And then Martha Karua supporters and allies, including the Women's League, coming out to say, we would like Martha Karua to be picked as a running mate. So those are the two. Jackson in Mtwapa, good morning.
Morning. How are you?
Very well, thanks.
Good.
Who would you pick between those two?
I think at this moment, Martha Karua is the best candidate.
Why?
To pick as the deputy president.
Why?
We as former NASA people now we are in Azimio. We lose trust on Kalonzo and the other team, the other Mama Mboga and Boda Boda who are in the other side now. Because you remember,
why would you lose trust in Kalonzo when he's stuck with the team?
We lose trust because you remember the time we were waiting them to come and swear in Raila, and they're saying they're still waiting for call from Nigeria and whatever. And me and Joe, we came from Mombasa to Nairobi, and the Kalonzo and the other team are still waiting for the call from Nigeria. So now also he can be still waiting for those Nigeria calls as Kenyans are waiting for him to do work.
Thank you, Jackson. Point made. Let's hear from Michael. Please switch off your radio so we can pick your call, Michael. 0719-012-600. Osmond in Kisumu, good morning.
Good morning, Eric. Ongeka uono city.
My brother, clearly you, for a moment there, you thought you were in Radio Namlolo.
Ongeka uono. Osmond, if you are Raila, who would you pick as your running mate?
Martha, of course.
Why?
Undani has been there. He has been there, and they didn't make a big impact while he was with Kibaki.
Who? Kalonzo?
He's gone off, has he?
He's gone off.
Maybe he'll call in again.
Yeah. So basically, many people are saying Martha Karua, because of who she is, her character, she's resolute, she's independent, she's all. Kalonzo, for similar reasons as well, and also saying that Kalonzo is a safer pair of hands.
You know what is interesting, is that what is being dissected with the calls is the individuals and their personalities and their character, what they represent. There's a mention of the positions they've held, but the positions they've held are being discussed within the context of what they have done with those positions and how they represented themselves. But Martha seems to be coming up on top. You see, my choice of a female candidate is not just because she's female, but in our political setup, a female candidate for that position represents change. Represents a shift in the way we think and the way we look at things. And it introduces a certain openness in the society that we currently don't have. It removes certain vestiges of bondage that we have about what women can't do and what they can't do. So this one will be just one more step further in saying that actually what the men can do, the women
can do better.
Yes, precisely, actually. You put it well.
Hey, this one is going to be an interesting one. Thank you for all the calls, and keep calling on 0719-012-600 for all the conversations that we have. In the next hour, we want to have a conversation with the new entrant into the gubernatorial race for Nairobi, and this is Igathe. He'll be joining us shortly. He's stuck up in some traffic somewhere. But also, we remind you about what Colgate is doing. Colgate is working with Well Boring, and in this particular one, they're also working with Naivas, and they say, if you go to Naivas and you purchase Colgate, some 10 shillings of every Colgate product purchased at an Ivor store will go towards an initiative of sinking 30 water wells in 7 counties around the country by the end of this year. And these water wells are basically being sunk in schools, and the water is then accessible by the schools and the neighboring community. Good initiative, and they're saying, we've done this so far. We've done 90 wells so far, and they are benefiting 120,000 people. So let's do 30 more and benefit more people. You can participate in that. Good morning. It's 8 o'clock.
Spice up your life. The latest news from around the world. 94.4 Spice FM.
Good morning, this is Newswire. Dennis Aseto. Former Kenya High Commissioner to Uganda Julius Kiema Kilonzo has threatened to sue the Wiper Party after issuing a direct ticket to Dr. Julius Malombe in the Kitui gubernatorial race. In a letter addressed to the party, Kiema, through his lawyer Eric Mutua, said Wiper Party leader Kalonzo Musyoka had requested him to appear before religious leaders on April 18th at 4 p.m. to seek a consensus between him and Julius Malombe. However, when Kiema arrived at the command center on the said date, he found no one. Kiema now wants to know if the NEC passed a resolution endorsing or allowing the former governor's direct nomination, or if the National Elections Board had issued him a certificate before the end of 19th of April 2022. Kiema had settled on Kalonzo Musyoka's son Kennedy Musyoka as his running mate in the Kitui gubernatorial race. Now, Deputy President William Ruto said the August general election has been framed as a contest of ideas for fixing the economy. Ruto said Kenya Kwanza Alliance has prioritized economic issues for the sake of millions of struggling Kenyans. Speaking in Mathira, Nyeri County during the burial of Mary Wamuyu, the DP said he was working with like-minded Kenyans to bring to an end the era of an economic model that excludes a majority of Kenyans. At the same time, Ruto assured Kenyans that the country will hold peaceful elections in August. And a section of Mombasa County ODM leaders have defended the party's decision to install Mvita MP Abdul Samad Nasir as its gubernatorial flag bearer in the August polls. This comes after a section of local politicians led by former Senator Hassan Namar dismissed Nasir as a weak candidate and a project of powerful forces. The aspirants, including sitting MCAs, said Nasir is an independent leader with a proven development track record during his 9 years tenure as a member of the National Assembly. They accused Omar, who clinched the UDA governor's seat ticket, of playing dirty politics instead of selling his agenda to the electorate. Now, the Ministry of Petroleum and Mining now says no more fuel supply has been restored in the country. The ministry noted that petrol stations are carrying out business as usual, and the scarcity or long queues witnessed over the last 3 weeks are not there anymore. The 3 weeks of fuel shortage saw motorists spend long hours in queues to get the commodity, while some petrol stations turned away customers due to lack of fuel. The situation has now eased after the ministry announced Thursday last week the restoration of fuel supply. The ministry says in the last 4 days they have dispatched about 10.6 million litres of super petrol and 13.3 million litres of diesel to various petrol stations across the country. Now, a number of teachers say corporal punishment should be allowed in classrooms again so that they can be tough on pupils who misbehave. Kenya outlawed corporal punishment in schools in 2001. The Children's Act protects children from all forms of abuse, but secondary school head teachers say the ban undermines their authority in schools. Head teachers are meeting this week for an annual conference and will discuss the rising unrest in schools. Now, Laikipia County has been given a stable outlook with improved ratings due to increased revenue collection and reduced pending bills. GCR rating upgraded the county's national scale long-term and short-term insurer rating to BBKE and A3 as the county moves closer to issuing the first ever infrastructure bond by a devolved unit. According to GCR, the improved credit profile by the county has been supported by an improvement in operating performance, where its own source revenue rebounded to 840 million shillings last year from 731 million shillings in 2020 after COVID-19 disruptions. Locally collected revenues now account for 13.7% of total income. And the Kenya Bureau of Standards has assured traders that there will be no delays in cargo clearance after the pre-export inspection deal with 5 funds in Kenya markets ended. KEBS Managing Director Banditry said following the expiry of the pre-export verification of conformity to standards contracts for general goods on March 31st, 2022, all imports will be subjected to destination inspection until the contracts with third parties in countries of origin are renegotiated. KEBS has now categorized general goods which will be subjected to destination inspection depending on how risky they are. And the government plans to create over 200,000 jobs under information technology-enabled services in the Vision 2030's fourth medium-term development plan. Principal Secretary for Broadcasting and Telecommunications Ednah said the plan that starts in 2023 to 2027 also aims to achieve a 10% gross domestic product growth by the year 2030. The PS said the government was continually reviewing public policy guidelines to ensure that the right business environment prevails in the country to help facilitate targeted economic growth. And finally, remember, SpiceFM will be hosting Polycarp Igathe. Be sure to join in and get to know him better. This is News. I'm Dennis Assetto. Good morning.
.5 Spice FM, Kisumu.
So people who are coming from Mombasa, from Kitengela, from Athi River, and they're coming towards Nairobi, are all congregated for a public rally at Mlolongo. They don't know what's happening, but they're just there. It's not moving.
It's good. It's good for people to congregate.
Maybe it's some swearing in of someone.
That is even better.
So there's some traffic issue that's happening there, and it's not moving. And then and you come closer to the SGR, Syokimau SGR station as well. There's some small traffic snarl up. But after that, at the airport, it moves. City Cabanas, it's moving. When you get to Imara Daima, has some issue there into the interchange with Enterprise Road. And then thereafter, it gets smooth into Uhuru Highway. Langata Road has now also cleared. It's now moving closer and closer towards Wilson Airport. That's where the traffic starts, heading towards T-Mall Junction. Thika Superhighway, it goes all the way into Survey, coming towards Pangani, and after Pangani, it clears. Mombasa Road, I'm talking about Outer Ring Road is busy as you approach the Kangunda Road Junction. We also don't know what's happening there. That's from Kangunda Road coming into Manyanja Road, getting into Jogoo Road is busy. But just be patient. If there's anything else that we ought to talk about or some bad traffic issue in the morning, SpiceFM KE, that's our Twitter handle.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Okoh, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latiff, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching.
It is 8 minutes after
not
8.
down.
Good morning.
This
it's the 20th day of March
Room,
2022. Kenya's biggest conversation. We stay in March until those things happen. And what are those things, City?
Well, one, the expressway needs to be officially commissioned, and there's a 15% reduction in electricity costs that was supposed to have happened at some point.
In the first quarter.
Yes, the month of March 2022 was the point at which all these promises were to have culminated. They haven't as yet. And what that means to any calendar year is that we're still stuck in March.
Kabisa. Yes. We are still there. We are still at that point.
When March?
Stuck in March. Okay. Give us the day's proverb.
Misfortune that comes to town does not wear a turban.
misfortune that comes to town does not wear a turban.
Yes, it very rarely wears a distinguishing garment. It doesn't come clothed in recognizable, shining, shouting, gaudy colors for you to see it for what it is. No.
One would assume that then fortune comes screaming and looking white as a dove.
If one assumes that,
Unmistakable.
then one would assume wrongly. Because sometimes fortune comes cloaked as misfortune. And misfortune sometimes comes cloaked as fortune.
As fortune.
Yes.
Okay. So we are meant to have a conversation this hour with the new gubernatorial aspirant for Nairobi County who is seeking the Jubilee nomination, Polycarp Igathe, stuck in traffic. People who want to be governors of Nairobi getting stuck in traffic. It's like they're new to Nairobi.
Before they got traffic, you know, when you get stuck in traffic as an ordinary citizen who isn't aspiring for any lofty position, you're just a mwananchi stuck in traffic.
Yes.
But when you're aspiring, how dare they? Mtarajiwa.
Surely.
Traffic jam.
Jipange.
Precise helicopter. Naweza kuja nayo.
So, Polycarp Igathe, because he's late and now it's 8:10, we're going to bump him off. He will be on air from 9 o'clock, okay? And in this hour, we're going to have another conversation with Laban Cliff and Serio, who's coming up to the studio. Before then, so who is this Polycarp Igathe? The story here is covered in all the papers. Nation has this here. State House brokers a deal clearing the way for the former Deputy Governor of Nairobi, Polycarp, to be named Azimio 1 Kenya candidate for the city gubernatorial race. With Westlands MP Timothy Wanyonyi as his running mate. It's given coverage in page 21. Can I read just a bit of it?
Please read a lot of it.
Okay, ngoja kidogo.
Once upon a time, in the city of Nairobi,
A State House meeting yesterday cleared a way for former Nairobi Deputy Governor Polycarp Igathe to be named as the Azimio 1 Kenya candidate for the Nairobi race. According to sources privy to talks on the alliance's ticket, the meeting settled on Igathe to fly the Azimio flag, with Westlands MP Tim Wanyonyi asked to deputize him. One of the sources said the Equity Group Holdings Limited Chief Commercial Officer emerged as the compromise candidate as part of the Jubilee ODM Pact after Kenya National Chamber of Commerce and Industry President Richard Ngatia fell out of favour with the Jubilee's party leadership. Igathe is even currently holding a meeting with the team at Nairobi Hotel after meeting. However, the source said Wanyonyi was not keen on shelving his ambition to play second fiddle to another candidate. He said he's not backing down, according to a source. The executive director of the Raila Odinga Azimio la Umoja campaign secretariat, Raphael Tuju, admitted to ongoing engagements to settle on the coalition's Nairobi flag bearer, but he said he was not directly involved. So, if you look at it that way, how many people have come seeking Jubilee's ticket for Nairobi governor? The current governor, Anne Kananu, is one of them. The Chamber of Commerce president, Richard Ngatia, is another, right? There are others. There's the other lady as well who is also wanted the Jubilee ticket. I forget the name, but of course it will come. Tim Wanyonyi of ODM, who is an ODM
talking
member.
about the bishop?
No, not the bishop. There's the other one, the businesswoman, Nairobi businesswoman.
Yes.
That name will come. Tim Wanyonyi.
The one with the legal background or something.
Yes.
It will come, yes.
Tim Wanyonyi is the current MP for Westlands, 2 terms. Came out a long time ago and said, I want to be the governor of Nairobi. I will be seeking the ODM ticket, and then I'll also be seeking to be endorsed by the other Azimio parties out there in the ring. On the Wiper side, we've got Professor Kaloki, who came from Makueni, wanted to be Makueni governor, dropped the bid for Makueni, has come back to Nairobi. Also, we hosted the chairman of the Nairobi Central Business District Association the other day, Washira, also wants to be the governor of Nairobi. On the other side of Kenya Kwanza, they've settled on one, Johnson Sakaja, as the flag bearer for Nairobi. This is a heated and hotly contested one. The governor of Nairobi City County. Why is Nairobi important? Like we've said many times, Nairobi is basically the heart of the country. Nairobi, even in terms of devolution monies, it receives the most for devolution allocation. Nairobi, even in terms of on-source revenue, generates the most on-source revenue.
It does.
Nairobi is central to very many things that are happening. So the governor of Nairobi is very, very important.
The lady is called Agnes Kagure.
Agnes Kagure, yes. Agnes Kagure, yes. I've been reminded as well. So all these people who want to be governor of Nairobi. And then, just about a couple of days before nominations close, Polycarp Igathe comes back. So the question will be asking him, so this strategic disruption, why would you, what makes you a suitable candidate for this role? And then for Nairobi voters, what is it that we should be looking out for in the next governor of Nairobi? If you look at the past two governors, so what should they, past plus the current, 3 governors of Nairobi. What should the 4th governor of Nairobi have as qualities that then would make us see Nairobi finally getting to where it should be?
This is a quest in the making. Quest in the making in that, remember the early discussions were, the job of a governor requires somebody who has a corporate background. You need somebody who understands governance, blah, 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 blah. And then some came in, yes, of course, indeed, but a little touch of politics is important because it's an elective post. And the conversation continued ad infinitum. The reality is that in that first term, very few of us, and I'm among those few who did not really understand what was required in that particular job, or what one was required to do with that job.
The role of a governor.
It was not clear. It only became apparent. What was apparent was the money. But even then, we hadn't wrapped our minds around the billions. When you talk of billions at the level of national government, it's very distant. It's far away from you. When it's at the county level, the changes you saw in the county and in the lives of the people who work in the county is what made you realize just how much money had gotten to the hands of this person we call the governor. In my mind, it is that made people look and say, excuse me, you mean to tell me when you're governor, you're in charge of all this?
You have resources.
Buana, at your beck and call, and you have the powers to you have real powers to determine how this thing works. Suddenly, all those interesting gentlemen who could have vied for those positions, who decided to be senators, realized they were better off being governors. And it changed. But the one thing that always acts as an alternative voice is the electoral process. This is not an appointment. You have to subject this process to elections. And my friend, the moment you do that, then all these lofty ideas about the aspirations and the aspirants and what qualities they need to have out of the window. Because the electorate will tell you who they like.
Then looking at the choice of governor, the first time. So let's say that you and very many other people did not quite grasp what the job of governor was going to be.
We thought we did, but we didn't really.
So then they ended up electing those who, very many people voted for Evans Kidero, and very many other people voted for Ferdinand Waititu, and others voted for the other candidates, like Jim Nambaru and the rest, for Nairobi. Okay?
Yes.
Dr. Kidero won. Dr. Kidero was sworn in. Dr. Kidero served 4 years as governor of Nairobi. And then, in 2017, people did not give him that mandate again.
No, they didn't.
They went for Sonko.
They did.
So we're assuming that at this point now, 4 years into devolution, people understand, people have seen devolution at work, and the voter of Nairobi, being a little bit more exposed than other voters, has now seen, okay, so this is not the kind of thing that we need. We need the kind of person to be a governor this way. Sonko gets an overwhelming majority of votes.
Seriously overwhelming.
Does that tell us that the people then understood what...
They understood whom they liked. Yes. The other story that we were talking about.
The role was still not an issue.
No. This
what the job of a governor is was not the issue.
That's a different discussion. This is a person they like. But also, there's something that cannot be excluded from this discussion. Our electoral process and what it is that are the determinants. It's not necessarily your popularity. No. Popularity counts. Like in Sonko's case, it really does count. But the party on which you vie for the seat counts tremendously. The support of that particular party and the affiliates that they have counts tremendously. So before the formation of these concrete structures of coalitions that we now see, we already had coalitions. Now, if you look at even the combination, Kidero had somebody who was in Wiper as his deputy. Now, you look at how our voting patterns are fashioned. You could see how Kidero had a much higher probability of wanting to win. Then Sonko comes in and defies all those known perimeters because he has a general appeal to everybody who falls into a certain bracket. It doesn't matter which party you're in. This is new. I would argue refreshingly new. Sonko comes in against all odds, I would argue. But then he had the support of a certain party.
Okay. Would you say the same thing that you've said? So Kidero looks at even there's the tribal and regional voting blocks within Nairobi.
Yes.
Okay. Then he goes for a Wiper person to be his running mate.
Yes.
And here let's just put it there. Kamba person to be his running mate.
Yes.
2017, there's a Kamba who is not running mate but candidate.
Yes.
Do you think that would have moved also some of Kidero and Jonathan Weke's votes?
It did.
Into Sonko.
It did.
And then there's the Jubilee, which has now the other people, the other communities, and they've said, he's our Jubilee guy, we like him, so we vote for him. So that pushed Sonko over the line.
It did, but why I'm saying Sonko's appeal was unique. Sonko actually had a national, I'm not sure whether he's lost it, a national appeal. Sonko has an appeal among young people in a way that is almost difficult to explain. He is liked. So all the other esoteric qualities we like talking about, well, a leader, must have this quality, and a leader must do this, and a leader must have a degree, and a leader. Forget that thing.
Those were stories.
Forget those things. The man is liked. Now, when you start talking about whether he's planting grass or not planting grass or trees, that's a completely different story. But he is liked.
Or carving lions.
No, that's a completely different story. But if you're asking whom people are voting for because they like, that's the man got voted in because the voter likes him.
In Nairobi, we've had people. One puts drums on highways and says this is controlling traffic.
Yes, exactly. And then he introduces something that even...
And then plants grass.
Fast-growing grass.
Fast-growing grass.
Which hasn't grown to date.
Then the next governor carves lions.
Yes.
That look like different animals, puts them on the same roundabout.
Those lions look more like goats, but nonetheless...
But
effort, Baba. Effort.
Nairobi.
Effort.
Maybe Nairobi should just be taken, everybody in Nairobi should be taken somewhere to the coast for a retreat to be taught what a governor should do.
They'll be taught and then they'll come back here and then they'll do whatever it is that they consider is native to themselves and what is most applicable. This thing about appeal, look, the other place we've seen it of late was in Kericho County. A certain Dr. Eric Mutai.
Yes.
Against all odds, the people decide not with their mouth but with their deeds to support a candidate. People volunteer vehicles, brand it. People dish out money to support. Now, the very opposite of what happens in our country. People actually doing, in my mind, what they ought to do. Support the leader you want. Now, you tell me, how are you going to defeat such a person in an election? And the people have already told you, they're already voting with their action. They're already telling you, this is a person we support.
Gumu.
It's very difficult.
Gumu.
Now, you may not like the person. Your thoughts are yours. You can think what you like and you may quantify the person as you see fit. But my friend, when it comes to the vote, that person is still electable. You may not like them, they're still electable.
Okay.
Yes.
So, Polycarp Igathe will be with us from 9 o'clock. We've bumped him off into 9 o'clock because he said he got stuck somewhere in traffic coming from another interview. So, he'll move on. Laban Cliff Onserio joins us now. He is the Chief of Staff at the Office of the Group CEO of Standard Group, but also an anchor and is a TV man. Laban Cliff, good morning.
Good morning, Eric.
Good to have you on the show.
Salamat.
Welcome to the hot seats.
Wow, thank you. It's great to be here. Yeah.
So, as we segue into the conversation that we're going to be having with you, the choice of a governor, when you're voting, you as Laban Cliff, what would you be looking out for?
Well, now this is the CEO of the county.
Yes.
And especially with my experience of managing principals, I think it's only fair to get somebody who has a heart and knack for the people. Here, and I'm also just referring to, of course, what's hot and what we're expecting for us later on. That we'll have our that's Polycarp Igathe, who's now officially declared interest. And basically what he says is in terms of like, I've been a businessman and I've run the streets, and alisema Nairobi ni shamba ya mawe. And I've been there, I've done that. I've arranged, what are they called? I've arranged stuff off the shelf. I think he was referring to his days at Coca-Cola, So here you're looking at the servant of the people. You're looking at somebody who has been tried and tested. Now, Polycarp has been tried and tested in the corporate world. What would the people say about him? On the other side, the Mwananchi will say, we want somebody who's tried and tested within our area, politically, from MCA level, for instance, or MP level. So I think for myself, I'll be looking at that person who's been tried and tested, be it business, politics, and one servant of the people and has passion for it.
Yeah. Laban, you are anchoring a show that's coming back on KTN, The Headhunter.
Yeah.
Tell us about that. What's The Headhunter?
Wow. First is why the Headhunter, actually, and how that came to be. So, thanks to COVID, I think we all realize you cannot just say you're just an anchor or you're just hosting, for instance. I believe City, Eric, you guys also have very deep passion for other stuff, be it public policy, based off on what we discuss, be it communications and what have you. So, COVID taught
Even
us...
COVID supplies.
Who knows?
Eric and I tried.
What happened?
We tried. We did what they said. We passed by KEMSA. Because we were told all you need to do is pass by KEMSA and you'll be summoned.
Were you summoned later?
We gave up.
So, I mean, it's, best of all, that don't give up, that's all. I mean, you try and say, okay, well, what else can I do over and above, my day job? And that's what I actually say, that apart from being chief of staff, the CEO, by day is that by night, you get on air and maybe be on radio, be on TV. The Headhunter basically speaks into the lessons we learned from COVID, which is how do you get yourself ahead? How do you improve your leadership skills? How do you improve your, it's one thing to go to school and say, and Eric, I mean, we identify with the Strathmore Business School, have those BCom degrees, IT degrees, MBAs, very nice papers. But now, how do you ensure that in your career, you actually rejuvenate yourself? So the Headhunter speaks to that person and that professional who would really want to get themselves ahead. What do you want to actually achieve? What do you want to do? What you realize, City, is that there's actually what can I say? Information disconnect. It's there, but it's at the top. That no, I'm not getting the right talent. I'm not getting the right people to work with. I'm not getting the right person. Then with mid-tier, lower level management, the conversation is, how do I get ahead? How do I be CEO one day? Then you realize, oh my goodness. So
the people at the top don't seem to find anybody who's suitable at middle level to rise to their top.
They call it the
and everybody
at
in the middle is basically struggling to rise to the top.
And they don't know. It's like you don't have a roadmap. I think in my other life, I'll tell you, don't have a pace note or route map into how to get ahead.
But in the time you've managed, see the lives of CEOs and people who are at the very top of the organizations that they run, have you ever found people at that level who actually acknowledge and see themselves as the hindrance, as the blockage to finding these people who are supposed to fit in? Because the people who need to fit in may be there, but it's those people who are making those decisions who
that don't want to create space.
They are the ones who are causing the blockage.
And rightfully so, more or less now the job in terms of advisory and saying, okay, sir, it's always, I think we see our roles as a mirror. You tell them, oh, boss, I think here there might be an opportunity towards, seeing opportunity, seeing potential here, seeing talent here. So rightfully so, I agree. Of course, this is generally speaking. I think here at the Standard Group, we've seen that there's a managerial intent. Basically, in terms of the ambition to see, okay, what's the right talent? We're not selling a good here. This is a service. We are trying to make sure that actually we can be ahead. So speaking again of previous experience, I mean, I started my career out in General Electric. General Electric, America's largest infrastructure company. When it was setting up shop in the country, I mean, you can imagine the recruitment drive. And having sat in the HR department, there was a big push towards making sure that we can get the best in the market, get the best in the industry. In fact, there was a back to Kenya program, which is be you in the diaspora. If you want to come back, please
come back and join
in.
Electric.
And I think it was very interesting to see how now those senior executives can actually say, okay, well, a minute. Even myself, as much as I'm attracting more talent, how do I ensure even the people around me are actually getting the best? It might be the best within the organization or outside. And I think it is upon any leader to actually tell you, say, hey, wait a minute. I think, where you've reached, it's more like a limit. So you might actually choose to actually look at opportunities outside, for instance, So I think these are the discussions we want to discuss at the Headhunter. You're just trying to really see how to get ahead. I think it's also an opportunity towards the talent managers, talent developers to actually see how they can actually come on board. And honored and glad that in the first episode going on air tonight, we'll be having the HR director for Safaricom, that's Mr. Paul Kisumu, just sharing insights as well. And not only just his experience at Safaricom, but having worked at Kenya Airways and having managed an entire airline during the Douala crash. I think you remember that was really a tough time,
Yeah,
and imagine being a people manager at the time when the company is, literally in disarray, I would say. And it takes us through that journey of how that life was going into banking at Barclays, going into EABL. So it's really giving a landscape of, how it is in corporate Kenya.
I see. Let's take a break and then we tell us a bit more about this first episode and what we should be expecting to get out of the Headhunter. Laban Cliff Onserio is the anchor of our show that's coming tonight on KTN Home, the Headhunter. What time, Laban?
10 o'clock.
From 10 p.m. The Headhunter. He's also an anchor for what other show is this that you do on KTN News?
Transform Kenya again.
Okay. He is also, what else do you do at Standard Group?
Goodness. Chief of Staff.
He's the Chief of Staff.
My day.
The office of the Group CEO at Standard Group. All these and more, that's what we'll be discussing. Keep it here for that. Reminding you about Showmax. For as little as 760, that's the starting point. You get access to premium content on Showmax, and this is good content, including Crime and Justice Season 2 that's out. Season 1 was out last year, got some serious acclaim, and Season 2 is now out. Watch it on Showmax. 8:30. We'll be back shortly on KTN Home, SpiceFM, and online.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation. Brought to you by Colgate.
Classic soul, R&B, smooth jazz, neo soul, and nostalgic ballads.
Make some noise. Yeah.
You're listening to Spice FM.
The group of leaders we are having now, these are just like the polymers. The chemical composition is the same.
Are you corruptible?
Hopefully not.
And maybe that's part of the problem.
People who have done about 300 speeches and they are not saying anything. What makes you think that they will come in with something really dramatic?
Don't miss out on the latest from Kenya's biggest conversation. SMS TSR to 22840.
This nation has never healed genuinely from the 2000-2008 violence. We've never had a healing process. We've swept it under the rug.
Let me tell you, the handshake was the most disastrous political event in the history of country after the coup attempt of 1982.
There's no Kikuyu pothole, no lack of water,
right.
or Kamba, lack of traffic. Yeah. There is no Luya lack of drugs in the hospitals. Or Jaluo one. All our issues are the same issues.
If you are in a room and just about everybody in that room has a court case or another, what impression does that give you?
What are you saying? Why haven't you done it in the last 20 years?
Cloudy day in Nairobi. It'll rain in some parts of Nairobi later today. It's raining in some parts of Nairobi already. It rained overnight. Highs of 24 and lows of 16. Mombasa, light rains, 31 highs and lows of 25. Similar thing happening in Malindi, highs of 31 and lows of 26 with rain. A sunny day in Nakuru City, highs of 24 and lows of 15. A mostly cloudy day in Kisumu, highs of 27 and lows of 19. Eldoret, highs of 25 and lows of 16. Kakamega, highs of 25 and lows of 13. Cloudy day, for both places. Kampala, light rains at 25. Johannesburg, cloudy day at 19. Dar es Salaam, light rains at 31. Kinshasa, rainy day at 30. Lagos, Nigeria, mostly clear skies at 32. London, sunny day at 17. New York, clear morning at 16. Paris, clear sunny day at 18. While Beijing, China will have a sunny day at 29. And then the temperatures will drop later tonight to 17.
Spice up your
So
life.
a trailer issue is what has been causing this silly snarl up that people have seen in Syokimau this morning in Mlolongo. Now it stretches all the way to Katani, coming up to Mlolongo, and it's bad because it has also affected the service lanes. So Mlolongo is not looking good at all today. And when you come to the SGR terminals in Syokimau, you find some other snarl up. It's just a short one here. Do not despair. It'll move when you get to the airport. It will be clear when you get to City Cabanas. It will be clear when you get to General Motors. You'll find the usual nonsense at Imara Daima and the turn-off into Enterprise Road. And then it'll be clear thereafter coming towards town, into Nyayo Stadium, into Haile Selassie. It'll not be looking bad. Langata Road, it was looking good a short while ago. Traffic was only starting at Wilson Airport. Now it's gone back. It's starting at Dam Estate, coming towards the Raila Odinga Way at T-Mall. That is an issue. Then Bagathi Way, that's Raila Odinga Way, into the city mortuary roundabout is also bad. Jogoo Road is not so bad today. It's only an Landis Road into Haile Selassie Avenue. That's an issue. Thika Superhighway, it stretches. It's almost going to Ruiru. Well, sorry. It's just going all the way past Survey, coming towards town. And like we said, Kenha needs to do something about the interchange with Kiambu Road. Conversation continues at 24 minutes to 9. In the Situation Room this morning is Eric Latiff, CT Muga, and Laban Cliff Onserio, who is the anchor for the Headhunter TV show that's coming up at 10 p.m. on KTN Home tonight. He is also the Chief of Staff for the Group CEO at Standard Group. So tell us again about, so I want to understand the Headhunter, the structure of the show. Is it an interview? Is it, when you hear the Headhunter, you sort of think of like the presenter, which is a contest where you have judges who are picking, who are headhunters. Mm-hmm. Is this a similar kind of thing? Are you offering people jobs on the show?
Oh, well, I wish. But ideally, it will be more of how do we hunt and how do we headhunt. And this is actually a concept that is across all HR circles, which is there's some people, yes, who apply for jobs, but there are people who are hunted. So how do you make sure you get yourself into the hunted list?
So these are the hunters speaking about what they look for.
Exactly. So we'll be so ideally it's just throwing it to them because now they are the ones now who are used to hunting. So now we're asking them, okay, what exactly are you hunting for? And now calling the show the Headhunter. Of course, we are out there and fantastic work by the producer there, Shari, in the sense of going out there and saying, okay, well, you are the ones who hunt these people. And by the way, they call it the cold calls, which is call you maybe in the middle of the night or very early in the morning, or you're not even interested about any role. And they'll say, you know what, Eric, there's this opportunity we have for you and we'd like to interest you in it. But the question is, why settle on Eric? Why settle on City? Why settle on this person you've actually called? And that's a secret that really it's never told out there. That's what I'm saying. There's an information gap. In the sense of these hunters not exactly telling you what they saw in you. And these other people who are gunning up for these senior positions,
wondering what could Joanna,
what exactly,
what backroom deals did these people have? The person who's joining us at 9 a.m. who wants to be the next governor of Nairobi, is one person who has been subjected to this in the public domain.
Oh yes.
What is it about Polycarp Igathe? I mean, he resigns from being deputy governor of Nairobi. The next week, he's working back to his job at Vivo. The next thing he's going to.
Here's how I'm going to put it. What if the president headhunted Polycarp to be our next governor? I'm just saying, what if? And it's out there. And I know the question was posed to him as well. But it's really a war for talent, as I said. And maybe there are people sitting somewhere and saying, who exactly can be the next governor for Nairobi? And let's face it, and I don't know what's going to happen and what he's going to say, but for instance, or maybe it was not a thought that he had. But maybe there are people who came in and said, you know what, you can do it. And maybe that's now the work of that. What is this that the headhunter supposedly
Well, the
saw?
story is told of, for example, Polycarp in 2017 that Mike Sonko headhunted him. I mean, conversations that had taken place, but then Sonko himself went to Polycarp's office and said, I'd like you to be my running mate. Exactly. The guy was not interested,
or
So this is the entire concept here of the show.
Exactly.
When you are looking for talent and you don't advertise in the papers or great national circulation or you place your applications by this date, you basically sit back and you do your own shortlisting from the people that you know, and then you start cold calling them.
Exactly.
Why do you choose so and so to call?
It's a big question, to be honest. And by the way, it will be quite interesting to even get from the hunted. You know how it is for even those few months. Remember, there was even a conversation about Polycarp even mentioning that, you know what, this is not what I thought. So, for instance, yes, you might actually accept an offer, but you go into the role and realize, okay, wait a minute, this is not exactly what I thought. So even now, the show even speaks into that. So we're talking about more of the how do you get yourself on board? But now, how do you get yourself ahead even when you're in that position, you know? And I mean, apart from Paul Kasim, we've even had our very own Nicholas Siwatom, the chief HR for Standard Group, just sharing insight as well, managing media in such a VUCA world. There's also an opportunity to have a chat with even ladies in the industry. We're talking about women on boards. You know, how do you actually get more women on boards? You know, and there's a whole crew that actually does a whole hunting for women on boards. There are people like Catherine Musakali, we have Susan Kiama. So I mean, the list is endless, but ideally it's also showing how KTN, Home, and of course the Standard Group brands are actually getting ahead. And thank you for SpiceFM for having me here in terms of just making sure that people are ahead.
But let me ask you this question, Laban.
Yeah.
How do people ever get to divorce their own personal interests and biases when they are put in a position where they are part and parcel of the selection committee?
It's call it the halo effect, which you obviously know that City Muga can do this job. He's done it. He's tried and tested. And by the time the hunter is coming to you, they already have a brief. They already have a brief about your compliments, about your achievements. So I doubt there's a way you can divorce the whole halo effect, or that bit about saying, okay, have a preference to such a candidate. And really that's up in the air, because at times it's to be honest, recruitment is an entire nightmare.
Let me tell you why I asked the question, Laban.
Yeah.
In a previous life, I was a school teacher.
Yes.
In the previous century.
Yeah.
And the government had a system where you were interviewed to be, say, a head of department, deputy headmaster, then headmaster, and so forth. Okay? Now, you could pass the oral and the written exam, but you would never get those positions. Simply because either the provincial education officer, the education officer in charge of this and the other, didn't think you're adequately compliant. Okay? Now, that's the personal interest that I'm talking about. Now, when you come to politics, it plays an even bigger role than someone's competencies, the known competencies that are visible and which you can trace and which have something that you can point to.
True.
That's what I was asking.
Yes.
How do you ensure that you divorce this from that selection process?
And City Muga hearing that, and especially I speak to my previous life being in the presence delivery unit and ideally in government, and knowing that the headhunting concept perhaps might be more friendlier in the private sector as opposed to government, because there are protocols and procedures into how hiring takes place. And in fact, even if the ministry officials or Ministry of Education officials would have a candidate for that matter, you've seen that there are panels. There are panels that are clearly cut in terms of like a representation, representing the women, for instance, representing the youth, representing the board, representing management, who also have to give a score. Now, that is a process that highly is visible in government, but more often than not, again, you cannot divorce it from the bit about the halo effect, because more often than not, you realize there are actually even managers, there are principals who have preferred candidates, but the board or the selection panel would determine otherwise. See what happened with the Independent Policing Oversight Authority, IPO. I mean, that was a classic example of how, you have a selection panel that really is, off tangent, pulling on one side compared to, their side. So
those who may have missed
different sectors
what
would
happened?
be different.
What happened with IPO case?
I mean, I think it's different scores. I mean, and I think we had the story exclusively on the Standard. I mean, ideally, it's, you have preferred candidates maybe from a particular sect from the government. But again, the panel, being independent, yes, carries the day as well. So now, and I mean, speaking of your years as a teacher, I think it'll be somewhat similar. But to be honest, what I can say is, yes, the halo effect, you cannot quite divorce from it, but still exists. In private sector is different. What I can say is that recruitment is very expensive for business. The turnaround time, I mean, look at what we experienced. We just, it's really, again, a volatile world, and there's a lot of opportunity, and people have realized, and thanks to COVID, do not waste time. If there is anything you can get out of the way, get it out of the way. If it's to get that senior manager who can get the job done, get him or her in the shortest time possible.
Boards are supposed to help reduce or diminish the halo effect that we speak of. But if you look at the way even boards are crafted, people tend to look for people of similar minds. So essentially, you're talking about a system that is already pre-direction. Yes.
Already.
Meaning, if you don't fit into a certain criteria, your personal qualities that notwithstanding, the likelihood of you ascending that position is almost nil.
True, I fully agree. And
this is the same in the private sector as well as the public is more overt about it. Because if, say, it's the Ministry of Health, and you're one of the many parastatals on the Ministry of Health, you'll be told the Afia House doesn't like this. Now, it's amorphous. You're not going to be told who, but once you're told, because that entire board you have to have the nod from Afia House for you to be in that board if it belongs to the ministry. So whatever else you can say, the ministry is never really far from it. Because I'm talking about cases where I've heard where applications for jobs are CEO of some of those organizations, and the person who ends up getting the job is the person who scored the least. Some are not even shortlisted in the first, but they end up and you wonder, so how did this person end up? But that was, the person was preferred. Yes.
Goes back again to a company law and the bit about the fiduciary responsibility the board has. Because the board is actually representing, quote, the shareholders. And these are the people who are actually asking the board, please have an oversight. These managers, we are not quite sure about them. Have our interest at heart. So, and then really, and I mean, largely speaking from, the bit about government, and definitely I know that there's a bit about having, for instance, the cabinet secretary, the principal secretary, in line. The other day I was looking actually at when the banks were releasing the results, and I saw the KCB bank results as well, and also quite interested in looking at the board representation. The Treasury has a seat.
Yes, they have to.
Treasury has a seat.
They have to.
And I was like, wait a minute, actually it's true. Because, there's that bit about forgetting that this is actually government has interests.
Yes.
So there's a seat there, which is maybe might be revolving. And of course, the PS or the CS can have representation.
And it's usually not one person. No.
So
there's a PS and alternates.
I mean, you have that. And there are many other parastatals, that actually have the treasury or have government representation in them.
You see what you speak of, there are nations where, remember the formation of what we call the ICDC, not the current ICDC, but the
original
ICDC, which was supposed to be the government's way of injecting into commerce and industry. Countries like Japan and China actualize it in real time, meaning government involvement is direct. There's no question about it. Okay. So yes, you may be a private industry, but the government say is huge. And that's why these institutions just keep growing. Now, in institutions such as those, you tell me, even when you're headhunting, who do you think is going to have the last say?
I mean, you'll definitely have who will pay the piper.
Precisely.
So it's going to be it's going to be a political decision. At the
It's
end.
going to. It doesn't matter how you twist it and
Yeah.
turn it.
Yeah.
It's going to be a political position, and usually, anyone who's a political bigwig, the political bigwigs will have people whom they are fronting.
Now that you've created the scenario, so the shareholders will actually speak and say, you know what, I think this City Muga is a good guy. We need to make sure we actually hunt him.
Yes.
And then it comes to the board and make sure, okay, guys, how do we make sure that we can actually have very compelling? Because you can be hunted, but the bait is not as good.
Yeah. so we can package City Muga.
So I mean, these are some of the things I want to discuss.
You know, the
because
private
not all of
sector
that.
has this difference.
Yeah.
Many private sector organizations actually cascade and segment power, meaning at you, Laban, there are powers that are given to you.
Yeah.
The decision you can make, and people say, okay, Laban has decided, and they'll go with it.
Yeah.
So it doesn't have to go through this rigorous process of public participation at all levels.
Yes.
Now, that is what may make it possible for what you're saying to happen.
Yes.
So, this headhunting story, for very many people, especially like you say, those in middle management, those in the lower ranks, who are seeking to rise, it has negative connotations. Because it comes out as it's a boys' club, it's a network.
Not at all.
That, this group of people are the ones who just keep getting favored, moving from one job to the other. And if you look, all of them belong to the same club. They, have membership in the same club. So-and-so, left this organization and has gone to this other organization at the same level or at a different higher level. And then they came back into the other organization at a higher level. And there was no advertisement for this particular position. And so everybody else looks at it and wonders, so do you want to tell me that the job of chief commercial officer only belongs to these seven people? That chief marketing officer only belongs to, that CEOs can only come from this pool of 8? Even if one has misperformed in one organization in public perception, then they are also headhunted to go as CEO. Having flopped in this, they are picked as CEO in the next one. You're wondering, hello, come on.
I get that a lot. I get that a lot, my brother.
Is the show going to address this?
Yes, definitely. And here, speaking out of experience, having actually out of my business school, so apart from Strathmore, of course, I went for my MBA at USIU and sat with different, both lower, mid, and senior level managers out in an MBA class, and that question always came up. Then there's always that thing about, a game of musical chairs. What you're saying, chief commercial officer, same people, same heads, different forests. And I'm like, okay, wait a minute. Okay, so this guy just left here, has gone here. This guy has left here, has come here. So what is this that they're actually seeing? So the lower level managers, and this is in one class, you all have group settings. So you're doing an assignment, you're looking at a case study, and you have people who perhaps are not as senior. Then the conversation between those senior managers actually goes like, hey, by the way, I'm looking for so-and-so. It's not advertised. The guy just said, hey, I'm looking for so-and-so. I just got this role. I'm looking for this person. And it's a nightmare. They say, oh, I don't want to advertise because you know what? I'm going to get 50,000 CVs and I don't want to look at them.
And I know who I want.
And I just know who I want, So then this lower level and the ones who are saying that perhaps there's a bit of a discomfort around them and said, you know what? Oh my goodness, how can I make sure I actually rank top 5 in this CFO's list of the wanted, So, and I think maybe perhaps that where even the motivation to just launch came out in terms of like, this is an information disconnect. Guys, it's not an opportunity saying that, hey, it's you against them or it's you versus them. If it's those clubs, okay, well, you might not pay $1 million, Bob, to join one of those exclusive golf clubs, for instance. But it's an opportunity to us saying, okay, well, how do I make sure that I'm in top of mind or I'm in spaces that these decisions are made or where these decisions are made? And I think all that will be answered on our Headhunter series, especially for season 1.
I'm guessing that it will also now bring in the issue of mentoring. That if you pick yourself a good mentor, then that good mentor is also telling you this is how you need to package yourself so that when I mention you to my peers, then they can consider. They can see what I'm seeing.
Exactly.
I need to see what we'll be looking for. So the position and the role of mentors in career. how important is it? And what's the selection process? I mean, how do you choose them? You just look at the City Muga. City is already mentoring one of our listeners.
I'm sure lots of them as well, especially for his
one
great
who,
command.
One who
language,
expressly
the
applied
Queen's
and
language.
said, I want to be like City.
I think I saw those tweets as well, and I think
there's a flip side to all this. Huh?
Yeah.
Pray to God on your knees or lie prostrate while you are at it and pray that your mentor is somebody who is liked.
Exactly. And somebody who can put the thorns on your seat.
Yes. Somebody who, when the name is mentioned, people feel okay.
Yeah.
We trust
it's a rubber stamp.
Exactly.
This one is a stamp of approval.
Oh, yes.
The other side, who?
No.
Then there's the okay moment.
Being fronted by City.
So, yes. I mean, you'll go through the process, but you are done. I mean, you've been shunted aside.
Yeah.
Now, I have to go back to the question I asked. You see, our personalities, our characters, our biases are never far from us.
True.
And whether they are fine-tuned, given the jobs that we do, or whether we discard certain traits as a result of what we do, that is a question.
Sure.
But my understanding of human nature, my understanding of it,
granted,
is that people don't really change that much.
Yeah.
They give the impression that they change, but they really don't. The core doesn't change. What they do is they adjust to fit into. But those fundamental beliefs that they have within them stay intact.
Mm-hmm. Granted, and the fact City is actually something that even myself as a host, I need to also learn and get ahead. As I said, yes, I'm just from Masters, but again, I'm not stopping from that. There's a conversation about relationships. And this is what actually around business circles is that people buy into people, and you cannot really divorce that bit about that personal preference for a candidate, personal preference for a supplier, for instance, or somebody to work with based off on what they've done. And I like that, what you be based off. What is your historical record? People will actually buy into that. They'll not buy into, you have a very good mentor and stuff. What exactly has he or she done? So they want to see that. You increased revenues by, X percentage. You did this. You had so-and-so. You made the company move from good to great, for instance. So
worked with people.
It's a conversation that a gentleman called Fred Swanika, who's an African iconic leader, who's actually bringing in with the concept they're calling the room. Now, the room is actually just a hall full of people, diverse backgrounds, and asking them, okay, guys, how do you make sure that this room can actually make you get ahead? So let's watch the first episode, City. Let's have a look at that. And in fact, assist also in the research and the back end onto it. And maybe it's a question I can actually pose into our next guest and say, okay, well, wait a minute. There is a conversation here about divorcing your human self. Because to be honest, I don't think headhunting will go into machine learning, AI, all this. It's really going to be a relationship. It's going to be a personal touch onto it, because this person is somebody you're going to work with. They're going to report to you, or you're going to report to them. So I think as a board, as a shareholder, as a senior manager, you really want to make sure that the hunted is actually somebody that you will not.
You see, Laban, in our country, the thing that comes to the fore and which isn't often talked about openly is our tribal influences, affiliations, and leanings.
Yes.
That's our contribution to the Bradley effect. Okay? Yes. We will all declare we are Kenyans. But when it comes to some of those choices, you look and say, I think it's not need.
At times it's justified, and at times it just gets overboard, because there are times where you actually want to say that, you know what, we cannot have 5 managers from one particular tribe. So rightfully so, even on that, what do you call it, the matrix or your interview sheet, you'll actually say, you know what, we're actually going for another tribe other than, this particular tribe. For instance, maybe because we don't have a representation. And maybe it might be because maybe the company is headquartered in a county that has one particular tribe. So, I mean, rightfully so, it's something that, yes, we exist in Kenya. But again, bringing in the multinational experience, at the caveat, they normally put at the caveat down there when you're looking at those roles. They say, you know what, no preference for what? Sex, religion, gender. I mean, and they put all those facets.
We're an equal opportunity.
And it's one thing to just write, but it's another thing to actually say that.
Like seeing this huge sign in KRA. This is a no corruption zone. You look at it and you smile.
Laban, thank you very much for joining us. So we will look out for the show tonight from 10.
Sante sana, Eric, and thank you, City, for a great hosting earlier today. And I'm grateful for the Standard Group. I think this is just an opportunity to get ahead. And again, I said lessons learned from COVID, where how do you make sure that you have a role, but you also make sure that you can actually participate. And I'm grateful for my boss, the CEO, for granting me the opportunity where be able to practice your management by day and be on air by night. So look forward to it.
10 p.m. tonight on KTN Home.
Looking forward.
Alrighty. So we are going into the top of the hour, and then Polycarp Igathe, this time, they say that they'll be in the studio. Let's remind you about Colgate and what Colgate is doing around the country, where in association with a UK NGO well boring, they've been sinking 90 wells for the last 4 years in 7 counties, and they're saying between now and December, we want to do 30 wells. So when you go to Naivas supermarket and buy Colgate, 10 bob out of that will go into this particular kitty that will help support the drilling of wells. 30 wells in communities, supporting schools to have access to water, because water is life, and we all know that. Kenya's biggest conversation continues. We're here until 10 a.m. We've all been live on KTN Home, but it now switches back to SpiceFM and YouTube and Facebook. It's 9 a.m.
Spice up your life. The latest news from around the world.
This is Newsroom
94.4
Dennis Aseto. The Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions will, in the next 3 months, focus its budget and resources in election-related offences ahead of the August 9 polls. In a statement, the Director of Public Prosecutions, Nuruddin Haji, stated that even as the fight against corruption remains their strategic focus, they will incline their mandate on cases of corruption that directly impact the elections. Corruption-related cases against political leaders will be top on their radar, although the prosecutor pointed out that active cases in court have no bearing in barring a candidate from seeking any elective seat. Now, the government's plan to create over 200,000 jobs and information technology-enabled services in the Vision 2030's fourth medium-term development plan. Principal Secretary for Broadcasting and Telecommunications, Ednah, said the plan that starts in 2023 to 2027 also aims at achieving a 10% gross domestic product growth rate by the year 2030. The PS said the government was continually reviewing public policy guidelines to ensure that the right business environment prevails in the country to help facilitate targeted economic growth. She said the policy review was targeting 3 major areas, including ICT-led industries, capacity development, and innovation in economic and social systems. And Wiper Democratic Movement Women League has disowned the endorsement of Martha Karua to deputize Raila Odinga by a section of women leaders, saying they are part of Azimio One Kenya coalition and yet they were not consulted on the matter. The team led by their chair, Rose Museu, said the decision was one-sided and that Wiper, being part of the Azimio One Kenya coalition, disassociate themselves with the section of the team that came together to make an assumptive conclusion on a heavy matter like that. The Wiper Women League stated that their choice for the position of Deputy President Raila Odinga is Kalonzo Musyoka. And 3 terror suspects will be detained for 14 days after the court granted the prosecution their request. The 3 suspects were arrested in Mombasa for planning attacks during the Easter holiday. They are suspected to have ties with known terror operatives in Somalia. Osman Mohammed Hassan, Mohammed Ibrahim and Hussein Ibrahim were nabbed at Muzamil shop at the Barbesha area of Kisauni. They were booked separately in 3 police stations in Mombasa, Central Police Station, Port Police and Makupa Police Station respectively. According to the Anti-Terror Police Unit, the 3 were involved in the planning of imminent attacks within the coastal region during last week's Easter weekend. The attack was being coordinated by 7 Al-Shabaab operatives dispatched from Somalia, according to intelligence reports by the ATPU. Now, a female athlete has been found murdered in a house in Iten town. The upcoming athlete has been identified as 24-year-old Damaris Muthe Mutua. She was allegedly murdered by an Ethiopian athlete identified as Koke Fai, who reportedly fled from the country after the incident. We hope that authorities will take up the matter and ensure that justice is served. Now, the UN has warned that 20 million people are at risk of starvation this year as delayed rains worsen an already brutal drought in Kenya, Somalia and Ethiopia. A months-long drought has left the Horn of Africa on the verge of a humanitarian catastrophe, destroying crops and livestock and forcing huge numbers of people to leave their homes in search of food and water. As long-awaited rains fail to materialize nearly a month into the current rainy season, the number of hungry people due to drought could spiral from the currently estimated 14 million to 20 million people through 2022. 6 million Somalis, or 40% of the population, were facing extreme levels of food insecurity, and there was a very real risk of famine in the coming months if current conditions prevailed, said the World Food Programme. In Kenya, 500,000 people were on the brink of a hunger crisis, with communities in the north of the country especially at risk due to their reliance on livestock. And the World Health Organization says escalating fighting in Ukraine is preventing emergency medical supplies and health personnel from reaching many people in need of help. Since Russia invaded Ukraine nearly 2 months ago, the World Organization has delivered some 218 metric tons of emergency medical supplies. Roughly two-thirds have reached their intended destinations, mostly in the east and north of the country, where the need is greatest. WHO has released 15 generators from its warehouse in Lviv, with plans to deliver them this week to hospitals across the country. Speaking from Lviv, WHO spokesperson Banu Badnaga says 3 will be sent to Luhansk and Donetsk in eastern Ukraine. That is where heavy fighting is underway and the power supply is badly affected. This is Newswire. I'm Dennis Seto. Good morning.
.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
There's an accident in Mlolongo involving a truck, and this has caused untold suffering to the road users this morning. People are stuck there for more than an hour, just not moving at all. So if you're coming through and you're stuck somewhere in Sabaki moving up towards Mlolongo, just be patient. When you get to Mlolongo, after the way bridge, it'll move, and then you'll get to City Cabanas, it'll be moving. When you get to Imara Daima, there's just a slight delay, and then it moves on. Thika Superhighway was looking not so good earlier this morning because it had stretched all the way back to Survey, but now it's moving. It just gets into that interchange with Kiambu Road. It gets bad. Langata Road, heading towards T-Mall Junction, starts at Wilson Airport, coming down, but then after that, it moves well into Lusaka Road. It moves well as well into Raila Odinga Way. Jogoo Road is not looking bad at all this morning. There's just the usual troubles at Makadara, but then everything else is moving. Let's see how it'll be looking like in about half an hour. But let us know of anything that we need to report about at SpiceFM KE. That's our Twitter handle.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Okoh, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latiff, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is
It's 8
the
minutes after
Situation
9.
Room.
Good morning. How are you doing? It's still the 20th day of March 2024. No, 22. Okay. We will not get into April yet until all those other things are met and sorted, which is the, what did you call it? Unveiling
Yes, the commissioning.
Commissioning
of the expressway.
Yeah.
And also the lowering of our electricity tariffs by 15%.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
All those things need to happen.
When they happen, we will know for sure.
We have moved now into.
Yes, yes.
Before then, we just don't know.
Before then, we're in limbo.
It could be anything. It could be one, it could be the other. Yeah, okay.
Limbo.
Yes. And so we know what was promised. It was promised that by the end of the first quarter of 2022, power tariffs will have dropped by 33%.
Yes.
Initially, we were told 33%. And then in December, we're told it's going to be now 30%. First 15% is at the end of December. It happened at early January. Second 15% was to happen the end of the first quarter. That's why we are still in the first quarter. We have not yet moved into April because we have not seen the cost of power coming down by a further 15%. Until that happens, tutangoja tu. So we've said that Polycarp Igathe, who got stuck in traffic, that has now arrived.
He's now unstuck.
He's now unstuck. Now here. Before we introduce him and say hello to him, let's hear the day's proverb from CT.
Yes, it's the last proverb from the country of Benin. Misfortune that comes to town does not wear a turban.
Misfortune that comes to town
doesn't wear a turban.
Does not wear a turban.
Doesn't wear anything distinguishing, anything unique, anything that would make it a clear identifier. Yes.
You cannot tell that this is a visitor.
No, you will not tell, but you will experience it in the quiet by and by.
It will be nguoni mwako. It will be a kikulacho. Polycarp Igathe. Apologize to the country.
A very big apology, and please accept my apology. I got held up in city center, and the transport and traffic, which is a job I'm starting to look for to fix, caught up with me. But it's because there's construction going on. I sincere apologies for coming late.
It's okay.
And a good morning.
Good morning to you. Welcome to Kenya's biggest conversation. This is the Situation Room. That is the hot seat. It's hotter than the seat that you're seeking, actually. But this is only for 1 hour. Can you imagine if it was for 5 years? But we're going to make it a comfortable one for you.
Thank you.
Polycarp, very many things that you are. First, I interacted with Polycarp Igathe. He was selling beverages, non-alcoholic kind, then into alcoholic kind. Then he's moved into that. He has sold me big biros and other stuff. He has sold me petroleum products. He has sold me banking products. He has sold me dreams and ambitions for the city. Very, very many things that you've done.
I've been lucky in my life to be versatile, and I think that's what we are called upon to do. But if you look at the thread of it, it has all been service, especially service to the public. I've really just been involved in products and services that go to the mass consumer, into the households. Primarily products you find in the kitchen and the bathroom. That's really what I've dealt with. And if you think about it, life is about the kitchen and the bathroom. Eating and then being healthy. Thank you.
You know, when we invited you to come, we pegged this conversation to be on one topic. The chosen one or strategic disruptor. So we are getting close to the point when political parties are about to finalize their nomination process. There are other candidates who've been on this particular journey for a while. They came out a long time ago. They said, I'd like to be the next governor of Nairobi. Others have gone out full hog on communication, meeting the people, having the conversations openly and saying, I want to be, until Polycarp Igathe then comes in yesterday on the 19th. It's like you're just going to file your returns with KRA and then you join the race. 19th of April, Polycarp Igathe joins this. The headlines are saying that there was a meeting taking place in State House, negotiations back and forth. What's the truth? What made you declare you want to be governor this time?
I declared I want to be governor, and I want to be in the governor's seat back in 2017 when I ran for the seat of deputy governor of Nairobi City County. I stepped down from a chief executive role of Vivo Energy then. I'm now stepping down from a group chief commercial officer role to come back and finish what I started. And you know what they say? Cometh the hour, cometh the man. timing is everything. And our constitution has stipulated it, that campaign time, there's a real timetable to campaigns. There's no need of starting to talk about elections and campaigning when it's not campaign time. And I think Kenyans are generally frustrated. Wherever you go, you just find this conversation about politics is exasperating, because we are politicking from morning till evening. So when you start your campaigns in January and it's out of calendar, it's basically like wearing clothes that are out of fashion, or music that's out of league. So this is the season. So am I the chosen one? I hope I'm the chosen one by the people of Nairobi. Mm-hmm. I am nobody's project. I don't know. People are talking about meetings that were held. The only meetings I've had is with business people, residents associations, women, youth, business groups. I've been very quietly consulting. And if you go around Nairobi, you'll see my party. I even asked my party, you'll see billboards saying Nairobi mwataka nini. That's a conversation I've been involved in the last 14 days. Until I got the confidence that I'm not imposing myself on the people. Mm-hmm. People are actually hungry for leadership. People are hungry for competent leadership, not just leadership, but competent. For far too long, important responsibilities, especially in political sphere, is being given to confident people. It is now time for them to yield to competent people.
It's confident versus competence. Very well said, Paulika, but I just want to come back onto that point. I mean, yes, there's a constitutionally mandated time to start campaigning, but also there's a constitutionally mandated time for political parties to choose their candidates. It has been known. Why do you decide to throw your hat in the ring for the Jubilee ticket just a few days before Jubilee has to make that decision? Why not give Jubilee leadership, Jubilee members an opportunity, ample time, a month or two, for them to resonate with the idea that Polycarp Igathe could be a suitable candidate?
I think Jubilee followers, true Jubilee followers, know I've been in the race. And that conversation has been going on to the point where they got so frustrated they decided that I've been employed by another oil company recently called Rubies. So that conversation has been going on in the party. And I'm not a new person in politics. I'm not a new person in leadership. That conversation has been going on. What I have done is to pronounce that I'm a candidate with my mouth, not other people pronouncing it for me.
So are you saying that you've been strategic?
Thank you. I welcome that. I've been strategic. And strategy is born of nature. The sun rises at a certain time, sets at a certain time. And you can't blame somebody for showing up. And what is the right time? What is the spot on time? I just believe it's God's own time. And I come to serve. I really come to serve. I seek employment as governor of the city county of Nairobi.
Okay, I need you to clear the air as well. This is about being very clear. The headline in The Nation this morning: it's Igathe and Wanyonyi for Nairobi race. We will talk about your choice of running mates, whether it's yours or not. State House brokers deal clearing the way for former Nairobi Deputy Governor Polycarp Igathe to be named the Azimio One Kenya candidate for the city gubernatorial race, with Tim Wanyonyi as his running mate. State House brokers deal. True or not?
Our party leader sits in State House. He's the president of the Republic of Kenya, the party leader of Jubilee. So for sure, there's conversations that are taking place at the leadership level about the city county of Nairobi, 40% of Kenya's GDP, right? Mm-hmm. But that party leader has also had the resounding, thunderous demand for a competent executive to run Nairobi City County. Not from him. Uhuru is the biggest, Uhuru and Raila and every person who seeks leadership, they're the biggest listeners to what we call the ground. And the ground is saying, this city actually does not... In fact, you even had people saying, we don't need to elect the governor of Nairobi. This should be an executive role. And that conversation has been happening on the ground. And therefore, my candidature, I don't have a ticket, you see. I'm pushing for the ticket. And my appearance here is to say I'm one of the contestants, and I have been one of the contestants amongst other esteemed competitors who are also members of the same party. So I'm not I'm not a trophy candidate. I'm a candidate of the people of Nairobi. And remember, even in the Jubilee Party, the last time the two jubilants, the three jubilants who brought the biggest votes to Jubilee was Uhuru Kenyatta. Then after that, it was myself and the governor then of Nairobi. We almost close to 852,000 votes. That's what we did. So you're not really talking to novices. You're talking to people who know how politics is done. And I think it's naive to start campaigning over Christmas last year before the time is ripe. Actually, it's annoying people. People are doing what they have to do. Politics should be a short, sharp blitzkrieg season. And that's what I have come for.
What you are telling, Laban, you seem to want to ask something.
No worries. Polycarp, good to see you again. I think in my previous life, I've interviewed you as a business professional. And I think it's an opportune time. I'm a guest host, I think, on Spice today. And the conversation the question I've been dying to ask you is that bit about the transition. And I'll speak on my days as a business journalist and you coming in as a professional, as a business professional, accomplished, then diving into politics. And your success, you're trying to replicate it into politics. And here I refer you to your interview yesterday with our colleague Sophia Wanuna, where he said, well, the job initially wasn't as you thought, where you jump in and say, okay, wait a minute, I got to know of appointments on the press, on the newspaper, such as you, and I'm actually a deputy governor. So speak onto that transition, and also, do you still want to find out news,
the reality of the political job?
So what I'm saying is, nobody knows the problem of Nairobi as close as I do. Really? My first stint in politics, I graduated from the Institute of Advanced Hindsight. Right? I went in and saw what I saw. Yeah. And you, all three of us here sitting in this show, you even saw the national government itself. We had the National Metropolitan Service had to come into place. So time has vindicated what I saw. And even when I left with peace because I did not want to interfere with the process because the political process is born of Article 1. Forget about all other articles in the Constitution. Article 1, power is with the people. So when the people have chosen, I can't then be the one who throwing spanners in the works. And you can see the information I also provided to my party to fix things is what also brought NMS. I did not have to do that in public. There's a lot of things I did quietly. The best work in life is done in silence. Not with a lot of noise. But now is a lot of noise because I have to canvass the vote to become, first of all, a candidate for Jubilee, then become the team leader for the Azimio ticket. And I'm a great believer in the ideology and philosophies of Raila Odinga. I have always been. He's resigned like me. He's one of the few. Whoever stepped out of Bunge and said, forget it, I'm going to start a party called NDP. And he started his journey from there. So in politics, there's something called strategic retreats. You retreat strategically, but then you come back and make a strategic advance. What else can I say about that piece of work? But it's clearly my quietness should not. I would like to apologize if my quietness was taken as haughtiness. But it's really silence. It's sure.
And I think as a headhunter, we're launching a show called The Headhunter on KTN, and we're looking at, I know you're going to be headhunting for your deputy governor, but the conversation here is in terms of saying that are you going with this blood, sweat, and tears? Because, look, as much as you did not like your job as deputy governor then, Vivo was calling. Came back and said, you know what? Afterwards, then, Equity was calling, and now you're living another top job. And are you going this blood, sweat, and tears? Because if you don't get this,
you have a plan B.
You have a plan B. You already have a job waiting for you. And in fact, somebody on Twitter joked the other day that I really want to have Polycarp CV because I think he always has top jobs waiting for him.
That's a really good question. And, I hope we are not trivializing success and the effort that goes behind success. And people consider me successful, but I don't think success is a destination. It's a journey. It's truly a journey. And for me, we should also not argue and say that you need to be desperate to become a politician. You need to have nothing else to do to become a politician. I'm speaking to my integrity. I left a political position as deputy governor straight to becoming a senior executive in a bank. You should go and check the due diligence they do for you before you become an executive of a bank. that speaks to my integrity, and also the integrity you undergo before you become a politician. I can only thank God for helping me to stay the course, and I will continue to stay that course. And I've been, by the way, the last time I applied for your job is this is the second time, the third time I'm applying for a job. I only applied as management trainee in Coca-Cola, and then I applied as deputy governor of Nairobi.
So you've been headhunted all your...
And now I'm applying as governor, of Nairobi. And private sector has headhunted me right through. Please ask those people who headhunt me why they headhunt me.
As chairman of CAM, as chairman of...
Those are clubs. What you're seeking now is a plebiscite. Correct. A completely different ball game. What I'd like to know, I actually consider your ascendance in the positions you've held as remarkable. Not many people can chalk it down that those are the achievements they've had in their lives. If you had one, you'd be shouting from the rooftops, but you've had many. Tell us about what you've done in these organizations to improve the life of the workers whom you have had oversight over.
A really good question. I think in my time at Coca-Cola, I improved the welfare of the people who used to work in the ice plants and in the sales department. I was a manager at the age of 25. I became a CEO at the age of 29 when I took over Okoh Industries. I found 700 employees. By the time I left, we were close to 1,600, so I created employment. Every year I've ever worked in Okoh, and you can ask them, we paid a bonus from our performance. So my people took home better money. If you go to Vivo, the same. People's livelihoods were changed because of our successful efforts at work. I have always been I'm a leader who's very collaborative and I work with my peers really well, even in where I work. And as I campaign in Nairobi, I think there are a lot of people who will say, these are the pros of Polycarp and these are the cons of Polycarp. My life has really been, have been public. And it's because I move the needle. For shareholders, I've done very well for shareholders, I've done very well for employees, and most important, I've done very well for customers. We used to sell I've sold big Byros, I've sold Tusker, in every business I've been, the biggest thing I've done is made a difference for the customer. Because I think if you make a difference for the customer, you make a difference for the management, the employee, and you make a difference for the shareholder. I'm really a customer evangelist. Now, the customer of politics is the voter. And that's really what I've come back to. And that is the respect I had in that place beside. And if the customer loves you, no one will harm you. Businesses look for you, although you're calling them clubs. This plebiscite is also about voters. If voters love you, no one will harm you.
See why I bring that question, why I ask it the way I have, is because the arena of politics puts you in bed with partners whom you haven't chosen. And if it's a city like Nairobi, you're talking about cartels. You're talking about cartels who want to look for business or who control certain sectors of business. You're talking about political cartels who also have their wishes. Now, one of the stumbling blocks that many leaders have experienced in this city has been that. And there is a phrase that we use that the city has its owners. So the county also has its owners. Now, you come in, you will want to see change. I do not doubt that for a single second. You will want to put in governance structures that will work. I do not doubt that for a single second. The politics around what we refer to as cartels or these groupings, because these people don't survive because they are powerful. They survive because they are supported by powerful people.
True that.
Now, this is the wasp's nest that you want to walk into. Your experience, your abilities, your talents in this setup, and the maneuvering and the give and take that the political sphere requires. Tell us how you're going to cope with this.
When I was managing director of Vivo Energy Shell, I was very surprised to encounter what you have just said. When a plot of land owned by that company behind Adam's Arcade Shell, there was 1.5 acres of land that was just stolen. The people who were stealing, we even went and said, listen, you're powerful. Can we offer it to you for sale at market price? And this is the price. And they told us, goodbye.
We have the land.
We have the land and we have the power. That is the day I decided to run for politics. That conversation happened on a Wednesday, and on the Monday, I put my hand down. I said, then politics is really where the power is. And I went and asked.
You also had a life-changing experience in Naivasha.
Correct.
When somebody pulled out a gun on you.
Correct. I had a life-changing experience in Naivasha where I thought, I've always thought, and that's the spiritual side. That's the spiritual side where I really believe I need to do something for my God. He's been too kind to me. If you look at my life, I have to serve him. And by serving him is serving his people. But that's secondary. Primary is exactly what you've asked. Nairobi has its owners, and that's why Nairobi has rotted for 45 years. This is a 45-year problem. It cannot be solved by a confident person and rah. It really needs somebody who can collaborate and bring people together to create solutions for the city. And that's why, if you notice, we've been asking, Nairobi mwataka nini? Even now I'm asking mwataka nini? I'm not coming as a face on a billboard looking down on Nairobians and even calling myself governor. Nobody has ever elected me. You know, that level of arrogance surprises. What I'm asking, what do you want? And can I be your servant to deliver what you want? And I'm not afraid of it. I've been in high, if you want to say, high pressure, high tensive roles.
But very different from what you want to get into. Very different.
Absolutely. But there's one thing I'm not. I'm not an armchair politician. I'm not one of these Nairobians and Kenyans who speak in the cocktail circuit and wax lyrical about the problems of their country. I'm bringing my solution. And my solution is to donate my skill, my ability, and let me do my very best for 5 years.
When I gather, what I'm actually asking is, if these individuals who are responsible for the rot that we speak of have the backing of powerful people, can I then assume that you have the backing of even more powerful people?
No, I think you're surrendering your own power to phantoms. I've told you what happened to me with a plot of land. I went to the ballot and asked people. But when I went in, I realized I thought we had a formula in Jubilee. But that formula, I retreated out of. And what did we win? The biggest problem in Kenya was this capital city was always in the hands of the opposition party. That has been the case for very many years until the day Sonko Igathe ticket won Nairobi.
But has it really? I mean, in all honesty.
It has. No, we can do the analysis, but let's start from Kibaki's time. Let's not go even beyond that.
Yes.
The whole of Kibaki's time, Nairobi was in the opposition hands. Uhuru Kenyatta, 15 years. Let's just use that because that's perhaps what a lot of our listeners can even remember. 15 years, it was in the hands of the opposition. The day Nairobi's politics aligned to national politics, Nairobi Metropolitan Service has come, you've started to see a lot of hospitals built. There was a strategic win. Yes, there was a tactical hurdle and error, but there was a strategic win. And this is the thing we also want going for. We would like the Right Honorable former Prime Minister Raila Amolo Odinga, when he becomes president, to also be politically in charge of the capital city.
But I gather the things you mentioned, like the metropolitan services, aren't they a factor of the lapse of the government that you pulled away from? Because they were created to now start doing things that the county government was supposed to have been doing, but which, unfortunately, were done more in speech than in action. And when the metropolitan services came in, then we actually started seeing things being done.
Absolutely. But with my input, silent. I told you I withdrew. I was only in office for 6 months. And it was to respect Article 1, the power of the people. And I went out with a lot of intelligence. And I'm going to give you a personal copy of the work I did. I'm the one who did the audit, initiated the audit by KPMG on the regime of Governor Kidero and Governor Mweke during assumption of office. I advised Governor Sonko then, I told him, let's draw a line in the sand. Before we even take over anything, let's do that report. If you read that report, the report of the Auditor General, it is seminal, and it has really helped the Nairobi Metropolitan Services. Who does the job does not matter as whether the job gets done or not. Really, who does the job? But who does the job matters, because now is a season. It's an open season again for us to go in and campaign. And therefore, I'm asking for your vote. Try me.
Let's take a break. All right. We'll come back with more questions. So, Polycarp Igathe, who is the latest entrant into the race for the Jubilee tickets and then the Azimio tickets for Nairobi Governor? going to face off with very many others who are coming in as independents, as Kenya Kwanza, even within Jubilee. How many do you have who you're competing against? There are 4 others.
I have 2 contestants in Jubilee right now.
Has Washira dropped out? Has Anne Kananu dropped out? Has Anne Kagure dropped out?
There are 2.
Has Ngatia dropped out? All those are Jubilee, aren't they?
No, I've said I have 2 others,
Okay.
including myself. And I'm asking Nairobians to come out and vote for me.
Okay. As we take this break, reminding you about Crime and Justice, and that is a show on Showmax. For only 760 shillings a month, you get to watch Crime and Justice. Season 2 is out. Season 1 was very good. We will be looking at talking to some of these stars in Crime and Justice. 26 minutes to 10. Good morning.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation. Brought to you by Colgate.
Classic soul, R&B, smooth jazz, neo soul, and nostalgic ballads.
Make some noise. Yeah.
You're listening to Spice FM.
This April, Sarit, your city is the place to be. Kicking off with daily kids activities from the 1st to 31st of April, comprising a bouncing castle, trampoline, hoverboard, Segway, VR games, and much more during the school break. Also included in the activities is the Ramadan Iftar setup every evening from 4 p.m. onwards. In addition, they have an amazing week-long Easter celebration from the 11th of April 2022, as well as a massive back-to-school sale and offers from the 18th to 27th of April. With all these activities for everyone, you have no reason not to visit Sarit, your city. See you there. The only way to live your best life is to create a balance between work, love, and play.
Smoking shisha and releasing things on your smoke like a Subaru. Right. You understand what I'm saying? Yes. And you want God to give you a man who has a mission and a vision.
You may create an illusion of because he's younger, he's interested in me or he likes me, but he's using you.
Text the word adult to 22840 to get the latest clips from Adults in the Room directly to your mobile phone. SMS adults to 22840.
The Adults in the Room. Classic soul, R&B, smooth jazz, neo soul, and nostalgic ballads.
Make some noise. Yeah.
You're listening to Spice FM.
Remember when Silas reminded McKenna?
There's different kinds of justice.
All right, how's the weather going to look like in Nairobi? Cloudy day, highs of 24 and lows of 16. Light rains continue in Mombasa, highs of 31. Malindi, light rains as well, highs of 31. Nakuru City, cloudy day at 24. Kisumu, cloudy day at 27. Kakamega, highs of 25 and lows of 13, also cloudy. Eldoret is rainy today, highs of 25 and lows of 16. Kampala, light rains at 25. Dar es Salaam, showers at 31. Lagos, Nigeria, highs of 32, sunny day, lows of 25. Rain showers in Kinshasa at highs of 30s and lows of 23. Johannesburg, high of 19 and lows of 8. A mildly sunny day. London is going to be sunny at 17 and lows of 8. New York, clear skies at 16 and lows of 6. Paris, sunny day at 18, lows of 7. And Beijing, sunny day at 28 and lows of 17.
Sugar and spice and everything nice. Spice FM.
Spice up your life.
Okay, so we hope that the next governor of Nairobi will work collaboratively with the Kenya Urban Roads Authority and the Kenya National Highways Authority so we remove the gridlock on the roads. For instance, people are still gridlocked on Kiambu Road joining the Thika Superhighway at Pangani, and then thereafter, once you get into that drift to branch off into Wangari Maathai and Murang'a Road, it's clear. When you get to Ngara, as you approach the Globe Cinema roundabout, it again backs up into University Way, coming into town. Jogoo Road is busy at Makadara because of bumps. We know this. Not footbridge, but bumps. We also know there's a snarl up of traffic on Landis Road as it joins Haile Selassie Avenue at Wakulima Market. Langata Road is busy as you come towards T-Mall Junction going into Raila Odinga Way, but Raila Odinga Way itself is clear. Ngong Road is clear, and the other roads, including the Eastern Bypass and the Southern Bypass, are also looking clear. If there's anything that we need to talk about, we can actually stop press and bring that announcement. Just tag us on Twitter at SpiceFMKE.
Business news on Spice FM.
Good morning. I am Stephanie Wangari. Acting Petroleum Cabinet Secretary Monica Juma says 4 petrol stations in Migori County will be punished for selling fuel above the legal retail prices. The maximum recommended price for a litre of petrol in Migori Town is 146.7 shillings. Diesel goes for 127.87 shillings and kerosene for 115.84 shillings. The 4 vending stations are located in Kenhanche, Awendo and Migori Town. The CS also said that normalcy in the fuel sector had resumed with long queues at petrol stations no longer commonplace. The Treasury has in the budget estimates for the financial year starting July listed Japan as the longest source of bilateral loans and grants, leapfrogging China, which has been the largest financier for nearly a decade. Beijing is projected to lend Kenya 29.46 billion shillings for the fiscal year 2022-2023, a sharp cutback from 140.03 billion shillings in the 2015-2016 budget. That marks the second year in a row that China will trail Japan in bilateral loans, having committed 21.25 billion shillings in the current year, ending June against Tokyo's that 6.49 billion shillings. The High Court has frozen land, 7 cars and a house in Nairobi worth 17.5 million shillings belonging to an official working at the Department of Correction Services. The official is suspected to have benefited from tenders worth 257 million shillings between 2012 and 2016. The Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission moved to freeze the property and cars belonging to Eric Motai, saying they were purchased using proceeds of crime. Justice Esther Minor granted the order freezing the vehicles and property for 6 months, pending conclusion by EACC. That's your business news. I am Stephanie Wangari.
Business news, keeping you up to date on all your money matters.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself.
20 minutes to 10, 20 minutes to the end of the show. We still have with us in the studio Polycarp Igathe, who is gunning for the nomination of Jubilee Party to run as Governor of Nairobi City County. Laban Clifford Serio is also with us, guest host for the last these 2 hours, alongside Eric Latiff and CT Muga. Polycarp, you're not new to politics of Nairobi per se. I mean, you ran as deputy governor in the governor's ticket in 2017. So obviously you took some time to try and understand the politics of the city. You have you've been a business leader in Nairobi, chairman of Kenya Association of Manufacturers, Petroleum Institute, and others. So you understand what happens in Nairobi. You're not a stranger to Jerusalem. City asked you a question about cartels. Laban, I'm sure, would have a question about the same. The ills of Nairobi.
Yeah. So there's a question here. I actually got it as a text. A friend of mine just moved from London to Nairobi because the city in the sun, and he said, oh my goodness, there's a lot happening. But 3 months in, it says, Laban, I noticed there's a way of working in Nairobi. There's a way things are done. There are people who supposedly own Nairobi. So flip side, you're a corporate executive. Well, Microsoft Africa just launched one of its research hubs here. Google yesterday just announced that they'll be hiring engineers, researchers in Nairobi, the first research hub of its kind in Africa. So you feel like you have two end. Maybe that's what attracted my friend to move in from London to Nairobi. That's James. So the question is, Polycarp, there seems to be a disconnect. You know, when you go into Kimathi Street, when you go into some of the streets, you realize, oh my goodness, there are people who control this town. Then how is your influence as governor going to bridge the gap with all these multinationals who are really keen on investing in Africa, in Nairobi particularly? And again, the mwananchi who says, kuna wenye nchi.
Nairobi kuna wenyewe.
Wow. Thank you very much for that question. And you know, just like Charles Dickens' famous book, Nairobi is a tale of two cities. It's a tale of hope and a tale of despair. and it depends on which side you're sitting in. And I am one person who I believe, from my experience and my exposure, I can thread in the hope and despair. And thank you for starting that question with hope. Because what is this foreigners see in Nairobi that we residents don't see? Why do we so self-deprecate so much and immolate? Well, actually, we self-immolate. We are into self-immolation and we don't believe in ourselves. Do you know this is perhaps the only city in the world with a national park? You get the big five, literally 5 minutes from the CBD. This is the only city with 1,000-acre park forest in it, rainforest, in Karura, in Sigiria, in Dagoretti. We are on the equator. We don't have to worry about the snow, earthquakes, and other vagaries of the weather. So there are very many things that attract people to Nairobi. But the thing we need to change is our spirit and our psyche. And also get rid of these fellows who are called cartels. I actually call them, in fact, I've called the contest of August 9th in Nairobi as a contest between the devil's geniuses and God's own fools. You choose which side you're in. The devil's geniuses have had the better of us. They finance people who come into the capital city. They play their games. They harass the youth. They harass the women. They harass, basically that kanjo. It's represented by the word people call kanjo. And I had the opportunity to go into Nairobi City County and work for 6 months. I saw talent there I never imagined I would see. I saw diamonds in the rough, but they have no leadership, nobody to speak to them, for them. Technical competence in transport, technical competence in valuation, in rates. We've got some of the best people, professionals in civil service sitting in Nairobi City County. That I can tell you. And I met them, I encountered them. But their level of frustration with the politics was beyond normal because they've been hard to. So the thing we need to change is, first of all, get serious about the member county assembly we elect. We have 85. This is the largest MCA universe we have. We have 17 constituencies. Nairobi is broken down into 4 boroughs, if I can say. It is Southlands, which consists of Dagoretti North, Dagoretti South, Langata, and Kibra. Then you've got Northlands, which is Embakasi North, Roysambu, Kasarani, Ruaraka. Then you have Nairobi Central, Starehe, Kamukunji, Mathare, Makadara. Yeah. Then you have Eastlands, all the Embakasis, South, West, Central. And if you look at life in Eastlands and life in Central, which also includes Westlands, despair, hope. When you look, you start to, if you go into certain places, you start to see where the pockets of hope and despair. Actually, Nairobi still remains with the colonial vestiges. Where the colonialists live, people continue to live well. Where the Africans live, people continue to live well. And this is what we have to bring together. But you cannot do that if you are not a collaborator. The biggest skill here is collaboration, listening, and a humble self-confidence, and a thick skin and a light touch.
Are you saying, therefore, that you're going to collaborate with these cartels that have been running Nairobi for 45 years? You're going to have a handshake with them, negotiation with them on how they can allow you to do a bit of work as you allow them to continue doing their work?
Thank you for clearing the air on that. I'm not going to collaborate with them. They are the people I resigned from. I did not resign from Nairobi because I realized the cartels walked in very quickly when we came to office, and I withdrew. And they're the ones making the biggest noise. They've gone to the highest levels of our parties to tell our party leaders, Polycarp will abandon you in week 2. Because those cartels never financed me. I never accepted a shilling for their campaigns. Neither will I accept this time round. I'm putting them on notice that here comes a man who, with the power of God, the power of the people, which is usually the power of God, is going to do his very best together with a team. Because I was asked the question, I will make a choice. I was never consulted when the cabinet was formed the last time. It was formed by those cartels. Our own party, which should nominate, Nairobi has nominated member county assemblies who should help the governor also, together with the elected ones. I was never consulted. That's when I knew the same cartels of 40 years ago have come back.
And the cartels were not only in City Hall, they were also in Jubilee.
No, of course. They are in our party and we have to get rid of them. I'm pronouncing to my party as a member of the party that I'm going to be an infusion of oxygen into the Jubilee party. And I'm going to promote Jubilee across the country. This is the party of Uhuru Kenyatta, the party of the people of Kenya, the party that is the party of handshake with ODM. You know, this is the party that has an addiction to peace. This is a party that has an addiction to infrastructure. That's the real addiction. And this is the party that has said we are not going to put a presidential candidate. We go for the peace addict, the ideologue, the king of Kenya's politics, the captain of our politics called Raila Amolo Odinga. And we are not putting a presidential candidate. And I'm telling Nairobians, please elect me and elect Raila Amolo Odinga.
There's something that you said, Polycarp, which is that you, even after leaving City Hall, after resigning from City Hall, you still continue to pull strings on how Nairobi is governed. True?
Sure.
And then you also said that you participated in seeing the Nairobi Metropolitan Services established and run in Nairobi City County.
I didn't participate. I provided input through my networks. I'm a deeply, widely networked individual in the city of Nairobi.
Okay.
And having come from a political seat, I gave my feedback. I presented the audit reports. I wrote my own reports. You must remember, I was appointed by our party leader to become the chairman of Nairobi Regeneration Committee immediately after elections. That committee started meeting the afternoon after we were sworn in Uhuru Park. We went and presented our case to the president, and the framework I presented has become the framework of the Nairobi Metropolitan Services.
Someone would ask the question, then is Polycarp Igathe behind the frustration that Mike Sonko went through that even saw him get impeached?
No, I'm not behind that. I stepped out, and Governor Sonko remains my friend. I always said it is me who failed to earn the trust of Governor Sonko. Never did I in public, and I don't ever blame Governor Sonko. I campaigned for him. And because I campaigned for him, I kept quiet like every intelligent, wise person does. You don't campaign for somebody, then 2 days later, you're criticizing him. You see the wars between governors and deputy. We never fought any single day. I resigned as a matter of principle. And the people I resigned from know I have come back. And they're the ones who would like status quo to continue because they've continued to move. And I'm telling Nairobians, help me. Let us go to the ballot together. Let's go as a residential association together, and we work.
We agree to help you. I am looking at your track record. You see, there are two ways of interpreting your track record. One where you've moved from strength to strength, or one where you easily move. So the question I would ask is, let's take the view that you actually win the seat that you are seeking. What guarantees do we have that you will not move again and do something else?
That you'll not give in to the cartel?
Yes, when things get genuinely hot, how do we know you will not move?
You know, when things got really hot was when I moved out, because they wanted to continue stealing and blame it on me. And when I saw what I saw, I gave a lot of information, I gave a lot of intelligence to the powers that be, and thank God Nairobi is in the hands of Nairobi Metropolitan Services. And I can assure you, I'm coming for a 5-year stint. My movement, life is about movement. Life is dynamic. Show me. We are growing older every day. Each one of us is celebrating a new birthday. What stands still? It's only a dead rock. If you're alive, you're moving. And I'm going to move for 5 years working for the people of Nairobi.
And what constantly moves?
Yeah.
And what does it achieve by constantly moving?
A river, it flows to the sea. A branch, a tree. You must be anti-nature and irreligious to fight movement. It's just not natural.
You're saying you're locking your term for this?
I'm locking my term for 5 years. I'm asking for a job for 5 years. And why am I asking for a job for 5 years? Because that is the term determined by the law as enough for somebody to actually contribute and serve. I am coming to serve. I've been an employee all my life. Look at my competitors. They are business people involved in real estate, involved in healthcare and other tenders. You need to be very afraid. Giving political power to, especially in Nairobi, to a businessman who does business with government or a businessman who does business in real estate. Beware. I am an employee. I'm asking to be employed by you. I will live off my salary like I have ever lived. I'm stepping down from a higher. It's a sacrifice I'm taking. But that's my contribution. Just contribute by voting for me and contribute by giving me ideas. it's not a joke when I ask Nairobi mwataka nini. It is such a serious question that I'm going to collect manifestos across the country that becomes the stuff that forms the county integrated development plan. Then that becomes the budget, and we start to roll out and hold me to account month on month, quarter on quarter, because that's all I know.
So
I come from that
Are you
background.
telling us that you are actually going to have in place this elusive concept that we've all talked about, an understanding with your people based on a structure, based on timelines, based on achievable goals? So we can say, when Igathe told us in year one,
milestone number 1,
yes,
by March,
all those fast-growing grasses that Kidero didn't grow, they're actually going to put them in place. So when we get to August, the end of August, the grass will have grown. Are you going to actually have a contract with us that we can hold you to account for?
I welcome that. I welcome that you present that to me, because that has been my life. All my life, and what has made me move and be headhunted by organizations, is I always work to a performance contract and a scorecard. And that scorecard says, we want the profit and loss account to be like this, we want the balance sheet to be like this, we want the customers to be like this, and I'm appraised every time. I've always, the worst appraisal I've ever gotten in my career is above average. I've always been outstanding and above average, and I can present those papers when you're ready.
Polycarp, have you had
And I want to assure Nairobians that I believe you'll give me above average
at the
and
very
outstanding
worst.
at the very worst.
Have you handed in your resignation at your current employment?
Say that again?
Have you handed in your resignation at your current employment?
Equity.
Yes, I've stepped down from my role.
What does your boss, Dr. James Mwangi, former boss now, say about you?
First of all, James Mwangi is a dear friend. He was a dear friend, and James Mwangi gave me 7 appointment letters before I accepted the 7th one to join Equity. I am so fortunate in my life that I have learned on the table and I've sat on the shoulders of giants like Dr. James Mwangi. He's an absolute giant. I've never seen a genius of his type. He's obviously disappointed I've chosen to go back to public life, because in his view, we can transform lives and livelihoods, even in banking, more than we can do in business. But I've told him, James, I'm continuing with the mission, but in a different in a different side. I was taken in by Chris Kirubi, who's such a dear friend of mine. He even ended up becoming my father, according to Kenyans. But we were such good friends, God bless his soul. He taught me. Like, one of the biggest lessons I learned from Chris Kirubi, and I'm going to exercise in Nairobi, is if you want to know the quality of a management of any organization or institution, go to the toilet where workers go. You don't need to be told the quality of management beyond that. I call it the toilet test. Now, you walk into the toilets of Nairobi City County, or city annex, or walk into the toilet of any public office.
I think you start by saying, dare walk in.
Dare walk into the toilets of even a ministry. Where workers go, not where the big PSS, CSs go. That's the stuff I'm bringing today. I'm bringing basics. Clean toilets, pedestrianized pathways, water and sewer, traffic that works, people who are listened to, residents associations who have access to their governor. They don't just see him, and really listened to and told the truth, how you can live together as a community. What Nairobi requires is common sense. To be honest, Nairobi does not, and that common sense allows us to then create a city that kills the level of despair that young people have. By the way, look at the whole of Eastlands. I'll give you another example. The whole of Eastlands, there are no title deeds. The title deeds started after Jubilee came to power. If you go to Mehango, Utawala, Eastlands, Tena, these people don't have title deeds.
Why?
Because of cartels in the Ministry of Lands. Not giving, people have been sitting on allotment. And as a consequence, nobody bothers to even plant a tree.
Was that government land?
If you go
originally?
No, it's not. This is land holding companies.
Precisely.
Like Embakasi. But fact is, we will come and discuss
because
land
they
on
don't
its own.
own their land.
Because you don't have land ownership.
You don't develop it.
By the look, take a photo by helicopter in Nairobi. Where people have title deeds, it's green. Where people don't have title deeds, no pride. No pride of ownership, pride of ownership. And those are the things that Nairobians want. Give them title. And when you give title deeds, I know I'm a former banker, a title deed is collateral.
It's money.
For a loan. Collateral for a loan is business. Business is jobs. And that is the cycle.
I want to conclude.
That's why I want to repeat and say, Eric, vote for me.
I want to conclude the conversation with just the politics of the next 2 weeks. All right. Number one, we know that Jubilee is not taking people through universal suffrage nomination. So what's your strategy on that? And then the second one, your choice of running mate.
That's why I've come out loud and clear that I'm a candidate, because there's been a lot of talk about it. So our party members are using the avenues and channels we are using to actually say with Igathe is the right candidate for Nairobi. And Nairobi and Igathe clarion call is everywhere in the ground. So that's number one. The second question you asked,
running mate?
The question of running mate is an Azimio la Umoja conversation. It is a parley that is sitting, and by end of day tomorrow, it will be decided. The candidates are already known. The formula is already decided. Let me not disclose it on radio. But before end of day tomorrow, I think that will be done. Or end of day this week, that will be determined. I will have a deputy governor who I can assure will have the best time in life, because I was a deputy governor once. and I can also assure the senator will be part of our team. The woman rep is also going to be part of our team. But Azimio la Umoja is ODM, Wiper, Jubilee.
And other parties.
And other parties, those being the lead party. But please do not forget, Raila Amolo Odinga, President of Kenya, Polycarp Igathe, Governor of Nairobi, and Kenya will never be the same again.
Asante sana. Polycarp, thank you very much for coming. You'll come again as the campaigns heat up, and then we'll have people asking you questions.
Thank you very much
and you responding to people.
Thank you very much for having me, and I apologize again to Nairobians for being late. And
so no more golf now.
I have never played golf. If you tell
he runs.
If you tell any captain of a golf club that I play golf, they will laugh. Even my handicap was taken away. I play golf on the 19th. There I part farm and straight.
Thank you for tuning into Kenya's biggest conversation. Join us again tomorrow morning. Have a lovely day. It's 10 o'clock.